Up all night global sports entertainment for stable hands, security guards, and people who missed the last train home and woke up in the park getting spooned by a Scottish tramp.
You can sleep in a damp patch.
The two mics, Parry and Graham on Talk Sport.
It's alright, I'm not gonna hurt you.
Cats do not want to be friends with humans. Cats want to dominate humans. Share. Started.
Sounds Dutch again.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, no, what am I talking about here? No, hang on. It's donkeys led by lions.
Yeah, that's right. It's the wrong way round.
No, it's lions led by donkeys.
Yeah. This is Talk Sport Extra Time with the two mics. Thanks very much to Andy Goldstein and Jason Cundy for the Sports Bar. I'm going to be back tonight at 10 o'clock, of course. Time to say a very, very hearty good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, welcome, Mike. Good to be here again. As you say, a day away from two classic sporting confrontations.
Yes.
The Under-21 tournament, of course, which seems to be vital for England in a way it never has been before. And that's because, you know why that is?
There's a chance of winning something.
Well, not only a chance of winning something, but there's a very large belief in the world of football that our Under-21 team is actually better than our senior team.
Yes, and that may not be the wrong thing to say, actually.
Well, exactly, that's what I'm saying. And so the huge expectations are based on the fact that Gareth Southgate, and you have to give him tremendous credit for this, has, through force of personality and will, persuaded young players to give up their summer holidays to come and take place in the Under-21 tournament. He's persuaded other young players not to get the hump because they were not going to be included in the senior squad, which went and played in Slovenia. They were going to join the Under-21 squad.
And he's also been politically quite clever.
Can I just finish?
Well, you just about mouthed off for about 10 minutes. I'd like to just mention something that you've forgotten.
Oh, really?
Yeah, something you've forgotten.
Oh, yeah?
Politically, he's been very clever as well, something that you've never been, which is why you wouldn't have noticed this.
What?
The fact is that he's also played the game very well and not stolen any of the players who are eligible to play for him, even though they're already in the senior squad.
But I've just said all that.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have.
You didn't mention any of that.
Why do you think John Stones was the Under-21s? Why do you think Harry Kane's with the Under-21s?
I'm talking about the ones
He has played a better political game.
Yes, I know, but I'm saying he's also done it by making sure that those who play for the senior squad were not going to be drafted into the Under-21s, which some people were making an argument for.
Well, no, that would have been a very confusing situation indeed. The boys had to know exactly what their focus was for this summer, right?
Yes.
Was the focus to ensure that England are now one game away from qualifying for Euro 16, which of course we are after the Slovenia result, which was a bit close to the mark, actually.
Well,
but it doesn't matter.
As we said yesterday, 3-2 against the 48th best team in the world. It's not anything to crow about, is it?
Exactly. And then he had to tell the boys who were selected for the Under-21s, wow, you might have heard about the Beckham era and the golden age then. That wasn't a golden age. This is the golden age. This is the golden squad. You boys can do it. I can make you better than the first team, than the full team. You guys have got a huge future. And one of the ways of having a huge future, because he's learnt from the Germans, there's a lot the Germans can teach us about football. He's learned from the Germans that if you've got a young squad that comes out of adversity, bonds together, plays through the junior tournament into the senior tournament, they can become World Cup winners.
So you're talking about a golden generation, possibly not at this Euros, not at the next World Cup, but maybe at the next World Cup in 2022.
I'm talking about a golden generation in 2018.
Are you?
Without a shadow of doubt.
Are you?
Without a shadow of doubt.
But there'll be those people who at that time will still be expecting Wayne Rooney to be playing because you know how stuck in their ways everybody is.
Well, he'll be captain of England then, certainly.
Well, he shouldn't be, should he? If you're talking about a new golden generation in 3 years' time, then Rooney will be over the hill by then.
Yeah, I know this sounds perverse to say this, but in fact, I would say Rooney is good enough to join the current Under-21 team, if you see what I mean.
What?
By the time the Under-21 team have got to 2018.
No, I think you're wrong about that.
Yes, he is.
Oh, did you see how many goals he missed the other night?
Well, I agree. In the 58th and 59th minute, I remember logging them because I saw the clock at the same time. I thought, how did he do that? However, that wasn't typical of the boy. It is the end of a long season. But you see, the bedrock of the bedrock...
You're feeling all right.
Sorry, I just had a memory lapse there. The bedrock of the Under-21 team is John Stones.
Yeah.
Now...
What about Harry Kane?
Well, I'm talking about the bedrock in defence. You know, work from back to front, okay?
All right.
And what I'm saying is, if you saw the catastrophic...
what?
No, catastrophic then. Catastrophic.
You know, let me put this question to you, right?
Excuse me. Confusion in defence of the senior team.
Well, there's a lot of confusion going on here as well. What about how many of the senior team would even get into the forward line of the Under-21 team?
Well, that's exactly what I've just said to you.
That's not what you've just said.
I opened the show, and the millions of listeners will vouch for this, by saying the Under-21...
You can't remember what you said 5 minutes ago.
The Under-21... I can remember exactly what I said 5 minutes ago.
Right.
The under-21 team is better than the senior team. Now, if you had a behind-closed-doors game now between the under-21 team, who are up for it, mad for it, want it, against the senior team who have still that air of cynical,
And they have a very pedestrian manager.
Very pedestrian manager and cynical. We've got there. You see, this is another thing. Good point. Good point that you've pointed out.
Thank you very much.
The junior team are led by a tracksuit manager with huge ambition.
Yes.
Even though he failed at Middlesbrough in club management, he has been exceptional in the international arena. I'm told by my friends at the Football Association.
Oh, yeah, you've still got friends there.
Exceptional.
You've still got friends there.
I've got friends.
Really?
I've got friends all over the
Don't
place.
name them, for heaven's sake. They might not wish to be associated with you.
I'm not going to because, of course, one talks in confidence to people at the highest echelons of English football. And what I'm saying is that
Roy Hodgson, with his laid-back approach to the game, always makes me feel like I put my life into reverse gear.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah,
you know
imagine somebody like that talking to you just before you're about to go out onto the football pitch.
Exactly. And you'd feel like instead of sprinting onto the pitch, you'd feel like sprinting onto the pitch and through the exit tunnel and out the other side. I'm telling you, that's the sort of feeling you get.
Now, because you're a student of these things, you will probably know what I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
And these are the under-21 stars to watch. Forget about the stars who are going to be playing for the England under-21 team. I'm going to ask you about some of these stars that you could be watching. Emre Can, Liverpool and Germany, of course. You'll have seen him playing in the Premier League. What do you make of him?
Emre Can?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's a star to watch, okay? How about Serge...
Who's telling you all this?
Serge Gnabry. My sources. Serge Gnabry. Arsenal and Germany.
Serge?
Yeah.
Serge?
Gnabry. Have you seen him play for Arsenal? You haven't watched him, have you?
His mother named him after Serge Gainsbourg.
Is that right? What about Andreas Christensen? Chelsea and Denmark.
Christensen?
Yeah.
Great place, Denmark.
Now, Thiago Ilori, he'll be playing against England because he's Portuguese, plays for Liverpool and Portugal.
I mean, why do I care about these people?
Because I'm telling you,
English?
Before the tournament, these are the players to watch.
But they're not English.
Well,
I care.
They practically all play in the Premier League. So
they're not exactly Premier League, household names, are they?
Well, Emre Can is. He's been playing for Liverpool all season.
Well, is he?
Yeah.
Not
he
really.
Has.
No, he hasn't.
Has.
How many games has he played
Horace
for Liverpool?
Okore.
Who? Horace?
Not Horace, no. Horace.
Oh, Horace.
J-O-R-E-S. Okore. Aston Villa and Denmark, right? I really think you should have been reading up a bit more on this,
No,
you know?
No. I know exactly what's going on, mate.
Anyway, look, the point is that the under-21 squad is definitely a rising kind of promise
I only know
to English football.
I only know things that you need to know.
Right.
I don't waste my time on ridiculous, statistics, facts. And
do you know who won winners and losers, by the way?
Plucking,
you only know things
names
that you need to know.
out of the air.
Would you like to hear the result of the winners and losers from last night?
Well, everybody knows that you fiddle this now.
No, they don't.
Of course they do.
There is absolutely no way of fiddling a Twitter poll, right? It can't be done. It cannot be done. Would you like to know? Last night we had winners and losers. It was retweet for a Mike Parry win, a favourite for a Mike Graham win, and the result is as follows. Retweets 103.
That's very impressive.
Isn't it? Favourites 215.
I don't believe it. I'm sorry, I just don't believe it. Well, next week we'll have it the other way around.
So that's
I'll have favourites.
Well, we've done it all sorts of different ways, right? You keep losing. That's 8-1 now.
People are very biased.
8-1.
People are very biased against me in that one, and it's because that I think that.
Well, most of them said that the idea that you made a hippo a winner and a guy with an ordinary name a loser pretty much gave the game away.
Well,
really.
I don't think so. That hippo, by the way, is back in the zoo now.
No good.
Yeah, his name is Biggle, and
that wasn't the name you gave last night.
It was. Yeah,
you said it was a different name.
No, it wasn't. No, it was Biggle.
I'm pretty sure you had a different name for him last night.
And we're looking at it. But anyway, look. Let's get back to sport.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's what we're going to be talking about. I have made the point, which you couldn't see, that the under-21 team, the England under-21 team, is better than the full team, right?
Yeah.
You've now accepted that. The mists of doubt are clearing in your head, so we'll understand. So what do we expect of the under-21 team? Is it going to be total failure if we don't win this competition?
Well, do you remember what happened the last time? They went to Israel, didn't they? And they had played very, very well, I think, in the lead-up to the tournament. But as per usual with English teams, whenever they go to a tournament, you're looking at me like you don't remember.
Yes, I
They
do.
didn't win a game, did they, in Israel?
I think
and they ended up coming home early.
I think we'll do very well.
Do you?
I do, honestly, in the under-21 tour. I'm looking forward to it. We're opening the competition against Portugal, don't we?
Yeah, well, it's not opening the competition because there's some games, I think, tonight.
I said we open the competition.
Well, no, we don't open the competition.
Our opening game.
Our opening game is not opening the competition.
We open our competition against Portugal.
What you mean
What's
is the
wrong with
campaign, the England under-23 campaign begins. Why are you leaning so far back, by the way?
Sorry?
Why are you leaning so far away from the microphone?
It's rather warm in here, actually.
It is rather warm. I think it's starting to affect you. Tonight, the European Under-21 Championships gets underway with Group A.
Yes.
Czech Republic Under-21s versus Denmark. under-21s.
Oh, that Denmark will include the player that you've just named.
Christensen, yeah.
What's his name?
Christensen.
Who's he play for?
He plays for Liverpool and Denmark, I think.
Oh, yeah. He's a big star with Liverpool, wasn't he? In the season
No, he wasn't,
just gone?
Imre Can was the big star.
Yeah.
Germany under-21 against Serbia under-21 is a 7:45 kickoff. The earlier one is a 5 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to watch both those games.
Yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely. Get stuck into them. I'm more interested in the England game.
Yeah, of course. Now, a point of order to bring to you, even though we're very, very nearly out of time.
You're always out of time.
You're wearing shorts again.
Baby, 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 you're out of time. That was a 60s hit. I am not.
You're wearing shorts again.
No, I'm not. I deny
What do
that.
you mean you're not wearing shorts?
Look.
You are wearing shorts.
No, they're not. They're 3/4 length.
They are shorts.
They're 3/4 length.
Now, when we come back,
very hot today.
When we come back,
Hey,
right?
guess what happened to me today?
Hang on, we haven't got time for
Yeah,
that.
no, it's a great
No,
story.
no, have you seen
I nearly
what the
smashed
time
my
is?
car up.
Yeah, well, you nearly smashed your car. All right, well, tell us about that in a minute, but I'm going to read you a document, an internal document,
Oh, yes.
right, which bans the wearing of shorts in
Oh,
talk
right,
sport.
okay, go on, yeah.
I'm going to read it now. I'm going to read it to you in a moment because you have to look into light for a moment.
Do you know what I say to authority?
I'm afraid you're in breach
What I say to authority?
of, bylaw 5, subsection C.
I say, pa.
Do you? Pa, really? Marvellous. He is Mike Parry, and I'm Mike Graham. This is Talk Sport.
We wear short.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. You can find all the information you need about us as well on the2mics.co.uk, where there's all kinds of listings of various shows that we're doing up and down the country. Now, as I was saying to you, I've got this document here.
What's this rule?
The rule that I've got here, this was a document that was sent out to all staff slightly earlier this year when the weather turned a little warmer, right?
Right.
And it says this, and I can't reveal, obviously, for reasons of security, who actually sent this, but be assured it was someone senior in this company. Right. Whilst there is a lax office atmosphere and we are a sports radio station, we should remember that we are a professional media broadcaster and the office should be treated as such. Starting from Monday, there will be a policy of no football shirts and no shorts in the office. The exemption will be for international tournaments. As far as footwear is concerned, no sports boots, nor flip-flops, nor sandals will be accepted. If you wear these items into the office, management will ask you to change your attire. If you have no change, you will be sent home and will forfeit your shift fee. It is now a prerequisite to come to work in an acceptable attire.
Okay, well, I agree with all that.
Yeah, well, you're wearing shorts.
No, I'm not.
So I'm afraid you'll have to change.
I'm not. These are...
You'll have to change, otherwise you'll be sent home.
No, they're male culottes.
What?
They're male culottes.
No, culottes don't have two legs, do they? Culottes have just got one leg.
No, don't think so.
Yeah, they're culottes. I've worn culottes. They are basically they're kind of a wraparound.
No, these are
effect.
English culottes, not Scottish culottes, mate. And there's
no such thing as English or Scottish
very acceptable
culottes.
Footwear, brand new Nikes again, another new
surgical shoes.
No, surgical shoes.
They are surgical shoes.
But anyway, look, the point is, this
What
is the middle of
size
the
are they,
night.
those
It's
shoes,
very
anyway?
hot. 10.
They're not 10.
They are 10.
My shoes are size 10.
Yeah, these are 10.
Yours are not the same.
They are 10. Look, they sole to
You've
sole.
got big feet, haven't you?
Yep. Well, I haven't actually. It's just that they were a real bargain. They're only 65
So they don't
quid.
actually fit you.
No, they don't fit me because I take. I don't know what you're laughing at. I take size 9.
Yeah, but why do you buy the wrong size?
Well, because I thought.
Do you think 65 quid's a bargain?
I do. I think it's a bargain.
We should have a man of the people alert.
And
man of the people thinks 65 quid's a bargain.
And I also only like wearing all black trainers, right?
Really? Yeah.
I don't like stripes on them or gaudy colours like blue and
or
yellow
how about
and all
metal
that.
studs?
No, I don't like metal studs either.
No.
I took those back. So when
But
I
you're
saw
wearing
them,
shorts, trainers,
Yes.
and a proper like a dress shirt.
yes, that's right. Yes,
Which, bizarrely enough, is black and blue.
yes, that's right.
stripes.
Yes. I've never
Is that an
worn
Italian shirt?
Yes, I think it is. But I've never worn a football shirt to the office because I do think that's slobbish. And
Yeah.
but I mean, we all know of colleagues who do wear football shirts, and they are slobs.
Yeah,
so,
they are.
So
But that's why
it's
why there was an epidemic of that kind of outfitting. And so what they said is,
Disgraceful.
look, no more shorts, no more football shirts.
Now, what I've done to make the shoes fit me,
Yeah.
because, as I say, they were too good to...
Have you got like an
conserve.
inner sole in there?
Inner sole and 2 pairs of socks.
Really?
Yep.
So that'll also boost your height as well. So a double bubble for you.
Well, funny you should say that. Did you know that, of course, on Thursday of this week, it is the 200th anniversary of Waterloo?
Is it?
Yes.
No, I didn't know that.
And what was the...
Was that the Battle of Waterloo?
Yes, the Battle of
Yeah,
Waterloo.
okay.
Well, what else?
Do you know what somebody
other
told me,
Waterloo
by the
is
way?
there?
Because you were telling us the other
Yeah,
week that
yeah.
Waterloo Station was named after the Battle of Waterloo.
Yes.
Now, I got a tweet from somebody, and you know we're followed by many professors of this, that and the other.
That's right.
And a history professor said that it wasn't named after the Battle of Waterloo at all.
yeah.
It was
What's
named after Waterloo Bridge or something like that.
Yes, a load of rubbish, I'm sorry. What do you think Waterloo Bridge was named after?
Well, I don't know.
The Battle of Waterloo.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, of course it was.
But the station may not have been.
No, now, let me tell
So
you
what are we
this.
doing for that anniversary on Thursday?
Well, we will be talking about it big on tomorrow's show.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But instead of doing a quiz on Waterloo, we're doing a quiz on the Sweeney.
Yes, that's right, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Why, do you want to do a quiz on Waterloo?
I just want to make sure we got our priorities right.
Yeah, we've got our priorities right. Now then, of course, as you brought it up, I thought I'd talk to you. I was going to talk to you about it tomorrow, we'll talk about it now.
What, Battle of Waterloo?
Well, the Battle of Waterloo...
No, because that's tomorrow.
No. I'm going to tell you about a social phenomenon that emerged from the Battle of Waterloo and Napoleon. And do you know what it was?
Yeah.
It was the Napoleon complex.
Yeah, in fact, there was a big piece in the Mail yesterday I saw about do all small men suffer from Napoleon syndrome?
Yeah, Stalin was said to suffer from it, Mussolini, Attila the Hun.
Yeah.
Attila the Hun.
How tall was he?
He was not... Well, about 5'2", right. But he wasn't a very pleasant person. No. Neither was Vlad the Impaler, by the way.
That's why they called him Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, that's right. Actually,
terribly nice chap.
Yeah.
Vlad
Just
the Impaler.
goes around impaling people.
Yeah.
But you see, and also the most recent Napoleon complex from a man who was French was Nicolas Sarkozy.
That's right.
The former president of
there
the
are those
French.
who have
was only
unkindly...
5'5" tall. He used to wear Cuban heels to try and get him up to the same height as his wife, who was the beautiful international model.
Carla Bruni.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
But the point is, though, surely that some have accused you of having Napoleon complex as well.
That's rubbish. I'm 5'8" ¾ Now, you see, the other place where this erupted recently was the big row between Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel.
Yeah.
Art Garfunkel's about 6'1".
Yeah.
And he said that Paul Simon is only 5'3".
Yeah.
I didn't realise that.
He was very small. Yeah.
5'3".
Yeah.
That's only tiny, isn't it?
Yeah.
He said he had Napoleon complex, and that that's one of the reasons why they fell out.
Right.
I would argue that Paul Simon was immensely talented and may become frustrated about the comparative talent within Art Garfunkel.
Well, it may have been the genius problem you talked about last week, where people sometimes are difficult to get along with if they're terribly creative.
Absolutely. The short man syndrome, which is also known as Napoleon complex, identified in 1926 by the Austrian psychoanalyst, a guy called Alfred Adler.
Alfred Adler? Brother of the famous Larry Adler.
That's right.
Very good on the harmonica.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was a bit of a fiddler.
Yeah.
Who also came up with the notion of inferiority complex, where sufferers demonstrate a lack of self-worth because of a lack of height. And apparently, the chap.
Well, that's the big question that you still haven't answered. Do you not think you suffer from this?
Of course I don't.
Why not?
Because I'm 5'8" and 3/4 inches tall.
You are not 5'8"
now
and 3/4. Rubbish. You must be about wearing 10 pairs of socks.
Did you know that the mainstay of that fantastically successful series, Dad's Army, was the Napoleon complex of Captain Mannering?
That's right.
Because he was said to be extra assertive and chippy because of his lack of height.
Yeah.
And was known as Napoleon by Warden Hodges.
That's right.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
It's a very common situation.
You know the French, by the way, think they won the Battle of Waterloo, don't you? Oh, well, to this day they claim they did. What they say is they say that.
Do they celebrate it as well then?
No, they don't actually.
Yeah.
No, they don't. They don't celebrate it.
So they must know in their heart of hearts that they didn't win it then.
Well, no, you see, what they're saying that Napoleon was beaten. So I beg your pardon, the Duke of Wellington was beaten, and Napoleon had him on the rack until Buchla turned up with the Prussian army. And when they turned up on the battlefield, they swept Napoleon aside.
Oh, I see, right.
But what they...
So you say they beat the English, but they didn't win the war?
That's sort of it,
Yeah.
but also they say they have the moral high ground, and they actually won the argument, because what they're saying is Napoleon, who did so much for continental Europe, he made them drive
So we're
on
not
the
be
right.
saving all this for tomorrow?
Well, we'll do a bit more of it tomorrow, drive
don't
on
want
the
to do
right.
it twice.
And he introduced
People get bored silly.
a new legal code for Europe and all that. What they're saying is that he was fighting against oppressors. He was saying, well, the British Empire was an oppressive bunch who went around the world colonising countries and all that.
Well,
all
so
I
did the
was
French,
doing,
though.
Yeah, of course they did, yeah. All I was doing was trying to stop them from expanding their interests in Europe.
Yeah, so that they could expand theirs?
Yeah, exactly. So they've always claimed, the French, that they had the moral high ground. And in fact, if you look at it... Because
I don't think the French have ever had the moral high ground on any subject.
No, I don't either. Although they're very nice people, and Paris is a great city.
It is.
What I was going to say is, until Waterloo, Napoleon had never been beaten in battle.
Yeah.
I mean he was the most brilliant, military commander in the history of military commanders. So, but it's a fascinating subject. We'll talk about more tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
No, I'd much rather talk about current news, okay, rather than looking ahead and spoiling what might be a good show tomorrow.
Yes.
Did you see the
we
story
won't spoil
today?
a good show tomorrow. If you haven't got the breadth of thought to be able to talk more about the most famous battle in the history of the world, then you are the dunderhead that I believe you to be.
No, because what you've done now is you've given a sneak peek into the planning for tomorrow's show, which is uncalled for and unnecessary. Now, according to research done in China, right, this is a much more interesting story, Mount Everest has shifted 3 centimetres to the southwest. Do you know why?
No.
because of the Nepal earthquake.
Oh, okay.
And the mountain has actually moved.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you don't seem at all perturbed by this.
No, I'm not at all perturbed.
You're not at all perturbed by the fact
that
one of the highest mountains in the world has actually moved.
No,
it's moved.
It's a ridiculous statistic.
Why?
Because let me tell you this: if you went up in an aeroplane last month, 3 months ago, and took a picture while you were passing Mount Everest, and if you went up in an aeroplane tomorrow and took a picture from exactly the same spot passing Mount Everest, you wouldn't notice a great deal of difference.
That's not the point.
Of course,
it's the
point.
Is that one of the highest.
It's one of these
peaks.
ridiculous, stupid statistics which people's it's moved 3 centimetres. You know, that's like saying,
you don't even know what 3 centimetres is, do you?
Yes, I do.
How many inches is it?
2.
1.2.
1.2.
1.2.
1.2.
Yeah, so that's almost half of
1.2.
what you thought it was. You thought it was 2.
I said 2.
You said
1.2.
2.
1.2.
Oh, you were going to say 1.2.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that, if a mountain's moving, right?
Yes.
I think that's something to be concerned about.
Well,
forget about
I
global
don't.
warming. Forget about the rising sea levels. Forget about, polar bears eating dolphins.
No, I couldn't care less.
This, to me, is a much more worrying sign that the Earth is actually changing shape.
Oh, you think
the Earth is changing shape?
So you think Everest is going to collapse, do you?
I don't think it's going to collapse.
And anyway, which idiot has got a machine that can measure the fact that Everest, the biggest landmass mountain in the world, has moved 3 centimetres? What a stupid statistic.
Because it's very significant.
Can I tell you something? The guy who did that should be pitched out of work now. He's got a non-job. Goes around measuring...
Do you know how many people were killed in this episode? 8,700 people were killed.
It's a terrible tragedy.
So you can't diminish it.
And I'm not diminishing it or belittling it.
And nobody now, at the moment,
tragedy.
And nobody's allowed to climb Mount Everest for the rest of the year now because it's considered to be an unstable place.
Well, I'd rather that people concentrated on making sure it doesn't happen again, helping those who've suffered from the earthquake, than going around with their stupid little tape measures saying, the mountain shifted by 3 centimetres.
You think people are going around with tape measures?
Well, how do you think they measured it?
They're measuring it scientifically.
Yeah, and how's that?
Well, they're using scientific instruments. They're not using tape measures.
What sort of scientific instruments?
Well, they can use lasers. They can use any number of different ways of measuring.
So you don't really know, do you?
They can profile the land. They've got models, the whole thing.
You're taking
here's what's even more weird, right? The fact that it's moved.
Giving somebody a job who's unemployable.
It's moved to the southwest, but guess what? What do you think's happened to its height?
Oh, don't know.
Well, have a guess.
Oh, I bet it's got shorter. Has it?
You're such a plank sometimes.
Has it got shorter?
No, it hasn't. It's exactly the same.
So nothing's happened to its height.
Yeah.
You're taken in by
all
these
con
man scientists, aren't you? Who print these
you're
things
not, are you?
To make themselves feel important.
Yeah, all right.
Honestly, mate, you don't amaze me anymore. I just despair. I despair at your ability to your idle, useless brain soaking up pointless information. Get a life, pal.
Yeah,
Get a life.
All right. We'll talk about something sensible coming up next.
Yeah,
Another one of Mike Parry's great ideas. This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
I think somebody's fallen ill behind the glass. I don't know what they're doing back there. No idea what that piece of music was.
It's like somebody driving a car and the foot's just fallen on the accelerator. Listen, I've got some tweets here I've got to read out.
Yeah, I was just sent out, by the way, for anybody who wants to see your shorts. I've just sent out a picture on the 2 Mike's Twitter account of you in your shorts.
Why did you take a picture?
Well, because according to TalkSport's
this is
rules...
utter nonsense.
No, because according to TalkSport's rules, you should not be wearing shorts to work. You should be going home and changing into something more suitable. Like the time you sent that girl home from the Daily Express whose miniskirt was too short. Who rather unexpectedly turned up at the Portsmouth show, by the way.
She did, actually, yeah. I take this as a total breach of confidence and faith, and it's changed my attitude towards you. Chap called Bill, obviously taking his lead from you, going on about Hobo with Bunions Parry dumbing down your great show. Disgraceful, he's a tramp. What's wrong with this man?
That's a bit harsh. I wouldn't say that you look like a tramp. Yeah, I would say that you actually look reasonably okay in the shorts. It's just that they're against the general dress policy of the office.
I think this fellow must have been on the drink or something. He goes on about Porky, short ass, taking the moral low ground over Waterloo. Put your medical bunion platforms on, Porky.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's on about, honestly. I don't know. Sometimes, we are grateful to all our millions of listeners, but sometimes they do somewhat bemuse us.
Yeah, Gordon says... no, actually, Mark says that he needs some sun on those legs. Yeah. And here's one from Wayne who says, not just the shorts, the legs need to go as well.
Yeah.
And Dan says, friendlies are for match practice. England A versus England B. Yeah. There's a reason they're not in the senior side.
Yeah.
Some people think that you're right, though, that actually the England under-21 squad would
sure
be.
They are.
And it wouldn't be a bad game, actually. Why do they do that? England under-21s against the England senior squad. Not a bad idea.
If they play each other now, I'm absolutely sure it would happen.
Yeah.
Now, I need to tell you about my near-death experience.
Oh, you do? But I'll tell you what, before you do that, let's just talk to Brian Sciaretta, who's over in the United States, because he's going to update us on the latest on Chuck Blazer, who secretly cooperated with FIFA investigators from 2011. And this is a guy who was trying to avoid doing 75 years in prison, right? And we got this story in the early hours of yesterday morning, but I thought we'd go to Brian and find out from him what the resulting kind of avalanche of questions has been over the last 24 hours or so. Brian, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Morning, Mike. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well indeed. Thanks very much indeed. Now, as far as you're concerned, you'll have had this story, I suppose, for a while. Chuck Blazer, we know, has been cooperating with FIFA for some time. What we didn't know was for quite as long as he's been there. And supposedly there's at least 5 ExCo meetings, I understand, that FIFA executives would have had with him, which he would have been presumably recording for the FBI.
Yeah, I mean, apparently he's wearing a wire, and he was knowing he was completely working with the FBI. The FBI had the goods on him, and obviously that he had a 75-year sentence. So of course he took the deal to wear a wire. I mean, these guys are not guys who are capable of doing hard time. If you look at any of these guys, they're more used to doing lobster dinners.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a no-brainer for him. And and what's very interesting about this is CONCACAF, and what we're seeing right now throughout the whole FIFA investigations is that just about all the malfeasance seems to be running through CONCACAF region, whether it be, that was what was implicated in the statements where the selection of choosing South Africa as the host of the 2010 World Cup. A lot of that money seemed to be run through CONCACAF and CONCACAF front organizations over here in this area of the world. So it seems like Chuck Blazer was a guy who was really attached to ground zero at these investigations. So they probably got some pretty damning stuff.
Brian, it's a remarkable story, this, because it's like the plot of The Godfather, isn't it, really? Getting an insider to turn Queen's evidence, as we say in this country, and that sort of thing. I'm just astonished that Chuck Blazer wasn't unveiled as a deep-throat informer to the other side during the course of these 18 months when he was actually an FBI double agent. I don't know how he would have, stopped himself from making the sort of mistakes that double agents do by seeking too much information to pass on to the other side.
Well, I mean, unless it's so egregious that no one can tell the difference right now. I mean, and I strongly suspect that that's what you're looking at. I mean, you're looking at an organization that was so corrupt that things were so egregious that they just lost probably even any kind of sense of judgment of what they were doing was right or was wrong. I mean, it was. Yeah, maybe. I mean, they're so used to doing the wrong thing that they don't even identify. They don't even see it as wrong anymore.
Well, I think that's part of the problem, isn't it? That, everybody gets so used to it. It's a bit like Grealish getting so drunk in Tenerife.
That's right. Yeah,
everybody just goes, what's wrong with that? Everybody does it. Yeah. But let me ask you this, Brian. The Daily News last year in New York reported that Blazer had bugged meetings with executives at the London 2012 Olympics with a wire device concealed in a key fob. I mean, is any of that information thought to have been handed to the FBI? And if so, does that involve any officials from 2012 in London?
I mean, there's no telling what happens. I mean, obviously FIFA runs the soccer tournament of the Olympics. So it is, there's always going to be some kind of ties there with, potential ties there with FIFA or the IOC, because we know the IOC historically has not always been the cleanest of organizations as well. So, you're looking at, I mean, right now, we just know they have a lot of stuff, and imagine this stuff over the coming months, years will start to come to light. But it's remarkable the kind of how wide this investigation is going, and the potential for it could be amazing if there's any kind of wrongdoing. It looks like they're probably going to get their hands on it.
Brian, I find all this astonishing, and you wonder where it's all going to end, because normally speaking, when there are vast sums of money involved, as there are here in FIFA, the level of criminality goes up and up and up. How do we know that Chuck Blazer hasn't been threatened by people, even to the extent of being threatened for his life, or certainly, his family being threatened or something like that? I'm not saying that anybody inside FIFA would directly sort of mount a campaign of, of implicit threats to Chuck Blazer, but there's a lot of people involved in this who are going to find themselves banged up in prisons, and that would normally spark a series of retributionary type movements from other people.
Well, Jack Warner said that he feared for his life, didn't he?
Yeah, when you're looking at time and money and a lot's at stake, a lot of people have a lot of money at stake, looking at hard time. You don't want to think like that, but there's no telling what could happen.
No. What about the current situation? We saw, funnily enough, Loretta Lynch, the US attorney, was over in the UK this week for the Runnymede anniversary and the Magna Carta stuff and all that. But, I mean, there was made an awful lot of fanfare at the time when these guys were arrested in Zurich. Presumably none of them have yet been extradited. Jack Warner still seems to be sitting somewhere in Trinidad. When are we going to see some bodies actually moving towards the United States where they can be formally charged?
Well, that could take a little while. Unfortunately, it has to go down to local law. And but there's a lot of treaties in place, but you're going to have to get some litigation and courts and time, no matter what culture, take time.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think there's 7 men in jail.
I think we need to see. Yeah, but we need to see some action.
Yeah, but the point is, because we all live in democratic societies, there's all sorts of procedures to go through, and then appeals and all that kind of stuff.
Really?
But I mean, unless you're prepared to, to go the distance on these things, you shouldn't embark on it in the first place. It's going to take.
So you're quite happy for them to take months and months, are you?
Well, it's the legal procedure. There's nothing else you can do.
No, I think they've got to pull their finger out. I think they're going to start making it happen quicker.
If the Americans do it the other way, Guantanamo Bay, they get massive worldwide criticism, don't they?
Which bay?
So if they do it the democratic way, now you're criticising them.
I'm not saying,
you can't have it both ways.
I'm not saying they should be taking them to a secret part of Cuba run by the American military, dressed them in orange jumpsuits and waterboard them. I'm just telling you that they should bring them back to the United States and face the music sooner rather than later.
I've just told you why they can't, you dolt.
Now, Brian, just before we let you go, just when you thought America was the saviour of sport and integrity around the world, we've got this Major League Baseball scandal, which has just broken as well. Tell us about that. The FBI now investigating an alleged illegal breach of the Houston Astros internal database by the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, I was a disgruntled employee. It was there's no telling, that was just something that just broke today. But, but you know what? It does speak well. I mean, they don't let these things kind of permeate. They find it and they prosecute it. It speaks well. I mean, there's going to be wrongdoing within a country of any kind of size and money, was money prevalent like the United States. But it's a matter of not letting these things drag on for decades like they do with FIFA. And it's a good thing to be able to stop it as soon as it can.
Yeah, well, we have to admire the investigators over there in the US. Brian, thank you very much.
Brian, thank you very much indeed.
I have to say, Mike,
you're so rude to him.
No, I'm not rude at all, but I'm glad you raised that second story there. What was it about again?
It's about the baseball, the Major League Baseball. They found out that one of the teams was basically hacking into the system of the other team to get information on some of the players, some of the personnel. Why are you shaking your head?
Well, I imagine that the good people of Walsall and Hartlepool and Cardiff will be absolutely gutted to hear about that,
Well, my point
it's
obviously gone over your head.
I'm so glad you raised it on our show.
It's obviously gone over your head.
Because our millions of listeners out there, the length and breadth of Britain, will all be now falling out. Oh, thank God Mike Graham has raised the baseball story. Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
So now you're a sports snob as well as every other kind of snob. The point I was making, which would be clear to anybody with more than half a brain, was that the Americans have been given this kind of, holier-than-thou kind of, homage by everybody else around the world, saying, thank God America has saved us from these terrible corrupt officials in world football. Every one of them in South America, in the Middle East, in Japan, in, the Far East, in Russia, in all sorts of countries, except in America. So what I was merely pointing out was that in America, they also have their own sporting scandals, which the FBI are also looking into.
And that sporting scandal, will that affect the price of fish in Sevenoaks?
I beg your pardon?
Will it affect the price of fish in Sevenoaks in Kent?
I've no idea whether it will affect the price of fish, but I can tell you that Chuck Blazer being an informant for the FBI won't affect the price of fish in Sevenoaks either. But you don't mind talking about that, do you?
But that's a worldwide matter concerning football.
Absolute
We
cobblers.
don't have anything to do with baseball in this country.
Yes, we do.
Nobody in this country plays baseball.
Really?
Nobody reads about it. Nobody cares about it.
Don't know that
Nobody knows about it.
You don't know that we live in a global sporting environment, do you?
Nobody knows the rules.
Do you know who's one of the senior shareholders of Liverpool Football Club?
Yes, of course.
Who?
A man who owns a baseball team.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And do you know who else is a major shareholder in Liverpool Football Club?
Well, I'm not interested in that.
Oh,
we
because
don't
it doesn't
play
affect you.
No, we don't play baseball in this country.
Oh, so it doesn't matter to you that single unit players who play baseball and who play basketball in the United States of America have got so much money that they're actually affecting the Premier League.
I couldn't care less.
You don't know about it. Ignorance is bliss to you.
I couldn't care less about baseball in America.
And utter ignoramus.
No. Nobody in this country cares about baseball in America. Like nobody.
Well,
we spoke
I
to
think you'll find that the Boston Red Sox and their fortunes have a great deal to do with how Liverpool spend their money in the summer transfer window.
Rubbish. No Liverpool fan that I know of could tell you even how many innings there are in a baseball game.
Well, I bet you they could
now.
now.
They couldn't because they don't care. They couldn't care less. Andy Gray, our great old mate, came on, and former Everton hero, from America last night. He'd just gone to his first ever baseball game.
Yeah.
That's how much people in this country care about baseball.
And he was annoyed.
Simply don't.
And he was annoyed that you kept wittering onto him because he was missing it.
There's more action in Japan
You've seen the time, by the
on
way.
baseball than there is in this country.
Yeah, well, they play baseball in Japan,
Of
that's
course
why.
they do.
Well done.
Well, that's, it's another,
Congratulations.
It doesn't affect the price of sushi.
Why don't you get your tape measure out and measure your feet? This is Talk Sport. I sort of shudder to think of what you might think this song is, but it was recorded by a couple of different people.
Yes.
This was the original. Any ideas?
No.
No, not at all.
No.
The song's called Fast Car.
Fast Car?
Yeah.
Oh, right, OK, yeah, good.
It's a woman singing it.
That was a woman, was it?
Yeah, it was a woman.
Sounded like a man to me.
Did it?
Yeah. The woman...
It was re-recorded by a boy band, which actually wasn't any better.
Oh, actually...
It's Tracy Chapman.
Tracy Chapman, that's right, yeah. Now then, what happened today was...
what's going on with this old jalopy of yours? The sooner you consign it to the old rust bucket shack, the better.
Got the puncture repaired last week, and today it was in for the brake pads,
Oh, you got the brakes done today?
Got the brakes done today.
Done.
Now, the point is...
Did they discover that there was an exceptional wear and tear on them?
Well, there was wear and tear on the front ones, so they replaced the pads. But on the back, for some unknown reason, they replaced the drum. I don't know what the difference is between the two, do you?
Well, not particularly, no.
No. Anyway, so I go and get it, and actually, I'd spent some time...
That must have cost a few bob.
It was over £400. But anyway, I'd spent some time, because I was at the dealership, looking at my next model, which I think I've settled on an E350 two-door coupe.
So you're moving up a bit then?
Well, it's got a sliding roof as well, so it'd be good. Yes, well, it's a sunroof. Yeah, sort of sunroof. Yeah,
sort of sunroof, or is it convertible?
I think you take a panel out of the roof or something.
Take a panel out of the roof?
Yeah, like a glass
Well, it'll be an
panel.
electric sunroof, right?
Yeah, it will be, something like that, yeah.
Well, you don't have to take the panel out.
No, well, it moves.
It slides back.
Yeah, that's right, something like that, yeah. Anyway, that's what it's all
Do you know how
about.
many sunroofs I've got on a Land Rover?
2?
3.
3?
Yeah.
Why have you got 3 sunroofs?
It's such a big car.
Well, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
Because it's a 7-seater.
7-seater, I see.
You get one sunroof for the front 2 seats,
Yeah.
second sunroof for the next 2, and a third sunroof for the next 2.
Is that right? Yeah, well,
So now you feel inadequate already, don't you?
No, because if you ever get a new car, maybe it'll have new sunroofs in it. See what I mean? If you ever get a new car...
you only have one sunroof, though.
Sorry?
You don't have one sunroof, and I'll have 3.
Yeah, but it's a 2-seater coupe sports car.
Yeah.
It's meant for jet setters,
Is it?
right?
Well, they won't sell
Not
you
meant
one,
for
then, will they?
Fat old gits
They won't
like
sell.
you.
They won't sell you
Not meant
one.
for fat old gits like
You
you.
didn't go in dressed like that, did you?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
You
I
didn't
did,
go in there
actually.
dressed
Yeah, I
like
did.
that.
Well, not exactly like this, because I got home and had a shower today because it was so hot.
You must have been wearing longer trousers, surely.
I walked there, by the way.
You?
I walked over to the dealership across the downs and all that, on a very hot day. So it shows you that I'm in top
Well, how
form.
did you take the car there, then, to get the brakes fixed?
No, I walked over there to get them back.
Well, didn't they give you a courtesy car?
I didn't want one.
What sort of outfit is this? Are you sure it's a Mercedes dealer? They should give you a courtesy car to drive around in.
They offered me one. I said, no, thank you, it's okay, I'm going to walk home. So I did, across the downs.
They probably didn't want you to wreck the brakes on that one either, or get a couple of punctures on the way back.
So anyway, when I got back, got in the car, and last thing the guy said to me, he said, oh, actually, he asked after you.
Did he?
Yeah, when I got there this morning.
Has he not revealed himself yet as the guy that you sold the Vauxhall Viva to back in the 70s?
No, this guy was very very polite and very respectful, and he actually asked, how's old MG?
Did he?
Yeah, so...
it was kind of him.
Yeah, it was very kind of him, yeah. And I said, he didn't drive around in cars like this because he has old jalopies and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so... As I was leaving the old dealership, last thing the guy said to me was, listen, Mike, be careful on the brakes because, they're all new and they get a bit spongy when they're first in. I said, oh, OK. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe these should have been road tested or something like that.
Right.
But anyway, it doesn't bother me because I'm a very experienced
So
driver.
what do you think he meant by a bit spongy?
I don't know. I didn't know what he meant.
Right.
And I
you
thought,
don't want to ask him, do you? Because
No,
the
not
thing about
really.
going into these car shops, right, and I do sympathise with you, is that they always look at you like, because you're a man, you're supposed to know everything about cars.
Yeah.
And so they use these phrases, and you're supposed to go,
That's
oh,
right,
yeah, of course, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you don't want to admit that you don't.
Yeah, so it's a bit, it'll be a bit spongy. So anyway,
Yeah.
I was talking about. Anyway, the first junction I came to, I was only doing like 10 miles an hour, and then I sort of turned off onto the. What are you laughing at?
Because I'm waiting to hear what's going to happen next.
Okay, so eventually I get onto a road called the Youthful bypass, which is a fast dual carriageway.
Okay.
And I'm burning along, feeling good that I've got the brakes sorted, and there's no longer a sign on the dashboard which says check brake pads for wear. You know?
So happy days.
And then I look up.
There's no smoke coming out from under the engine?
No smoke coming out from the engine. I look up, and of course, it's because it's rush hour and I'm speeding along.
So you're going a bit fast?
Yeah, there's a queue coming up to some traffic lights. So I hit the brakes.
Right.
And, nothing happens. Nothing. I'm thinking, what? And, in that split second, I remembered, I couldn't remember whether it was a Bond film or an episode of The Saint when he got in the car, but somebody had cut the brake
line,
the brake pipe. And
I think that was an episode of Thunderbirds, actually.
Was it? And he's whizzing round these, sort of U-turn bends, at 8,000 feet above a drop down into a pass.
I remember it,
and trying to stop him killing himself. And I had all that flashing in my head for about 0.2 seconds when all of a sudden, just as I was about to go straight to the back of a 40-ton lorry, the brakes suddenly started working.
Kicked in, because you'd burned off all the excess sort of sponginess or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, and they worked just in time. But it's a very frightening moment.
Yeah.
I thought,
but you see, that's why you're driving very aggressively.
Well,
you're too aggressive. You shouldn't be going that fast.
Not at all. But I had a multiple of thoughts. I thought, first of all, I'm going to smash
your life
into
flash before your eyes?
It did. I'm going to smash into the back of this lorry. Secondly, have I got a good lawyer to sue the people who put these new brake pads on, because clearly they've come off or something. They're not working.
Right.
And thirdly, this is going to upset my mum. Because it's a bit unfortunate. But anyway, in the end, they just suddenly picked up and... Oh, by the way, talking about my mother.
Yeah. Well, you weren't talking about your mother.
Well, I just did mention her there. 82nd birthday on Sunday and all that. Now, she came to see...
What did you buy her for her 82nd birthday, by the way?
What did I buy?
Did you buy her a present?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, of course I bought her a present. Yeah.
Well, what did you get her?
I got her...
Telephone box?
No.
Beehive?
No, you fool.
Portrait of yourself?
That's my sister. No, she's
Cuddly toy?
No, she's already got one of those. Anyway, the point of the story is this.
What is the point of the story?
She came to see my new roof garden. Because, as you know, I've had a lot of trouble with it this year.
Well, I know you have, yeah.
Finally got it done.
It's finally finished.
In grey Italian
I'm still
slate.
waiting for the invitation for the housewarming.
And all the flowers have been done now. My housekeeper's got them all beautifully done.
That's nice.
She's been to the garden centre, got them all. They're all wired up.
How about the cat? Is
the
cat
wall
still?
and all that. Cat's not in.
Cat's gone?
I've got a new trick with the cat. I sprinkle pepper everywhere now, as well as ammonia. Yeah. Oh, don't
ammonia and pepper. It must smell lovely out there.
Yeah. No. To keep the cat away. Yeah. And anyway, so I saw her over the weekend. She went home on Monday with my sister. Before they did, she went into a garden centre and she's bought me a skipping gnome.
A skipping gnome?
Yeah, a skipping gnome for the roof garden.
Really?
Yeah.
What does it do then?
It skips. Yeah, it's a gnome that skips.
A gnome skips?
Yeah,
Well, would you plug it in then?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't taken it out of the box yet. Right. But I mean, it's.
Well, how do you know it's a skipping gnome then?
It's a picture of it on the front. It's a gnome skipping.
Right. Did she not wrap it up?
She put it in a box.
She just put it in a box.
In fact, I'm going to open the box.
It's not very friendly, many your members. I don't wish to cast aspersions on your mother, but I mean, well, surely she should have wrapped it up so you didn't know what it was.
Well,
it would have been more of a surprise.
No, it's big. It's too big to wrap up, to be honest. And
don't be ridiculous.
Put it in
a
box.
Wrap anything up.
No, she put it in a box, sent it over to me. I didn't know what it was when it arrived. I thought this is odd. It came from a garden centre and all that. And it's a skipping gnome. But I think I'll take a picture of it before the end of the show, so I can share the joy of my skipping gnome.
It sounds suitably tasteless to go along with all the rest of the tasteless pap you've got in your house.
Isn't it? That's a bit harsh to call a present for my mother tasteless.
Well, it is tasteless.
You have to insult my mother on
the
show.
I'm not insulting her.
It's an 82-year-old woman.
It's no more tasteless than you giving her a portrait of yourself.
Well,
or sending a beehive or a phone box to your sister. I mean, it's a typical... I mean, your family's presents must rank as some of the worst presents anybody's ever received. Now, you're getting plenty of abuse, by the way, for your ludicrously kind of, Little Englander attitude about American sports, right?
Oh, really?
There's Duncan, who says he's very proudly Walsall born. He says, excuse me, Mr. Parry, do not insult the people of Walsall. We are interested in many things, 9 innings in baseball, so don't condescend people, you complete idiot.
Yeah, OK.
Here's
that's one person in the whole of Walsall. Do you know what the population of Walsall is?
Well, go on, tell me.
Population of Walsall is 72,000.
Right.
OK.
So he's very representative of them.
Yeah, and that's one person in Walsall saying, I know about baseball.
Right.
Good, I'm glad, and I'm delighted for you, and you're a very, very valued listener. I'm just saying...
What's the population of Liverpool?
Population of Liverpool is about 360,000.
I'm told, by the way, that in 2011 the Walsall population was 269,000.
Well, that's the Walsall conurbation in the West Midlands.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, have a guess at the population size of Liverpool.
360,000.
Okay, well, here's someone from Liverpool. Adrian says, I'm a Liverpool fan. There's 9 innings in baseball. Parry, you plank. Please stop the sweeping generalisations.
No, okay, that's one.
And then here's another one from Georgie, who's another person in Liverpool. Porky needs reminding, baseball has a right to be included, mentioned, or whatever, and that he's on a radio station called Talk Sport. We played baseball at school in the 50s and 60s in Liverpool.
No, you didn't.
And it was also massive in Derby and South Wales in those days.
No, you didn't. You played rounders. We played rounders in this country. I used to play rounders when I was a kid. We used to go down to the playing fields, and you get 2 teams of 6 and all that. Play rounders, put the jumpers down and run round the bases. But it wasn't baseball, it was rounders.
Derby's ground was called the baseball ground, was
Of course
it not?
it was, yeah.
Why was it called that?
It was called the baseball ground because it was built by a company that did invest in America. But that's all.
You don't know that at all.
You're making that up. They didn't play baseball there at all.
No, because it was a baseball club.
No.
Yes, it was.
That wasn't.
It was a baseball club in the 19th century. Well, why don't they call it the cricket ground then?
County Cricket Club.
Well, why do they call it the baseball ground?
Most football clubs in this country, I mean, Sheffield, for instance, only had 3 sides to each ground for many, many years because it was originally a cricket ground. Bramall Lane.
Yeah, they didn't call it the 3-sided cricket ground, did they?
No, they didn't, no. Why should they?
Why are you changing the subject?
I'm not changing the subject.
You're getting it wrong.
I'm not changing the subject.
The baseball ground in Derby was called the baseball ground because it used to house a baseball team.
The majority of people in this country could not give a flying fig about the game of baseball.
You're absolutely wrong.
There are a few fanatics who like baseball, and I admire them for their fanaticism, and they have every right to like baseball, but they are in a minority. That's all I'm telling you.
Here's one from Frazzle.
Is it all of a sudden a crime to point out we have minorities in this country?
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, because very few people in this country follow baseball.
Here's Frazzle. He says, clearly spent his time at Yankee Stadium just getting bladdered.
No.
Instead of watching the game.
Not at all.
Absolutely shocking state of affairs. Anyway, we've got loads more to do. Coming up, we've got, of course, Ask Porky a little bit later on in the show. And we're going to be hearing more about baseball and how popular it is in this country.
Does our newsreader like a bit of baseball?
Not only does our reader like a bit of newsreader like a bit of baseball, he's also from Walsall. So that's 2 people from Walsall who like baseball. Yeah. And his name is Russell Hargreaves, and he's got the news and sports headlines coming up.
In my experience,
at 2 o'clock.
People who know about baseball don't know much about anything else, to be honest.
Yeah, well. You can follow us, of course, at the 2 mics, at Mike Parry 8 and at IROMG. We've got so many tweets here, we should really read some out. A lot of reaction to your baseball slagging off, a lot of reaction to your cars.
A lot of support.
And also,
a lot of support.
No, I haven't seen any support. And also lots and lots of horror at that picture of you in your shorts, it has to be said. Now, let me ask you another question. How's your campaign going for the blue tick on Twitter? Because lots of people have been asking me about that. Have you got it yet?
I'm not sure what's happening there.
You haven't got it, have you?
Well, we went through.
Do you think it's possible that they've had a look at your account and just decided they don't want to verify it?
No. We went through all the official procedures at the end of last week. It was all done by a top executive from this company, Talk Sport. Yeah. She put everything into place.
Don't give her name away, please.
I won't. No, she's far too important to be publicly identified, I'm afraid. And it's going to happen. Don't worry about it. These things just take a few days. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
No problem.
Right. Well, let's hope that you get it soon.
Yeah, right. Now then, first of all, I've got people sending me already a picture of the skipping gnome, but I haven't even unpackaged it yet.
No.
So I haven't even seen it yet. And yet other people seem to have
one.
Well,
I bet it doesn't actually
I'm not
skip.
Sure.
How do you think it's a battery-operated gnome that skips?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to have a look and find out.
Adam says you should introduce a nightly roundup of the baseball scores on the 2 mics, if only to wind Porky up.
Well, I can't see the point of doing that, to be honest, because, as I say, I think it is of minimal interest to people in this country. And I'm not being rude to baseball, and I'm certainly not being rude to people who follow baseball in this country. I was just stating a fact. If I said to you, how many people in this country are badminton fanatics and know who the current...
I don't think you call badminton players fanatics.
Hang on.
I've never seen a fanatic on I think badminton's not the kind of sport that you're a fanatic about.
You know what I mean, and who idolise the current world badminton champion, you wouldn't be able to tell me more than a handful of people in this country.
Well,
that's all I'm saying.
No,
baseball's on that sort of level.
If I was interested in badminton, then I probably would be able to tell you.
But not many people are.
Under the circumstances, I don't know. Adrian says this. When Mr. Parry went to Yankee Stadium, did he no doubt go with New York's office secretary on a mission for full sex?
No, I didn't. No.
Did you not?
No.
You said last night that you went with her.
Well, yes, I did go to
So
the
you did go
baseball
over there?
game. They didn't go there to have sex, you fool.
Not to have
that's
sex
an
there,
idiotic thing.
but on a mission for full sex later.
Well, I'm not getting into that. That's a ridiculous question and quite intrusive. I'm not into that sort of thing.
And Roy says that picture of you looks like something out of a Hammer horror film, or maybe The Night of the Living Dead, or a zombie movie.
That's really a bit harsh, isn't it? Now, it says here, this guy Bill again, he won't sort of give up tonight, says that the reason for my behaviour tonight on the show is I'm reacting to another heavy defeat on winners and losers.
That's true, actually. Yeah, more than twice as many votes for me as there were for you.
And he sends a screwed-up picture of some bloke with a very ugly face who looks like a tree, saying that I've just shown to MG.
And Mike says this, when mechanics say spongy for your brakes, it's because you have your fluid topped up and the pad is a lot thicker and not worn in. That would be why the brakes are not actually quite so responsive as you expect to be. I'll tell you what, the first time I drove my sister's car years ago, when she had a Jeep Cherokee, the first time I'd driven like a big, heavy sort of 4x4 SUV, as they call them over there, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And in fact, it was at that wedding we went to, which I think you were at.
Yeah, I remember.
Up in Newport, right?
Rhode Island, that's right. Yeah, that was Ivor's daughter, was it?
That's right, yeah. Don't say her name.
No.
And I was not feeling well. I think I had tonsillitis or something. But anyway, so I was driving the car.
Yeah, I remember.
And we came to a stop sign, those four-way stop signs.
Yes.
And I wasn't going particularly quickly. I was about 35 miles an hour or something. I put my foot on the brake and the car wouldn't stop. Because it was such a heavy car that you literally had to stamp on the brake really, really hard.
And you didn't realise this?
And I didn't realise it.
So did you go shooting across the
by the
crossroads?
time I actually came to a stop, I was in the middle of the crossroads.
Do you know what? I remember,
Fortunately, there wasn't anybody else coming.
I wasn't in your car, but I was standing next to it when you left. And I even know the CD you had on in the car as you were...
Do you remember that well?
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was Blur.
It might have been, yeah. I don't remember.
You had a Blur CD on.
I don't remember.
And how long ago was that?
God, it must have been... I was still married for a start, so it must have been well before. It must have been the 90s sometime.
Yeah, OK. And I tell you what, I made a bit of a mistake there, because I flew to Boston and then drove to Rhode Island, which is a massively long journey.
Well, no, it's quicker than going to New York, though.
It's quicker going to New York. But then I had to... I tell you what, I think I drove back from Boston to Connecticut to go and see George and the mob up there, you know. But it was... I remember it being do you know what? You know what was interesting about that wedding? That was the first American wedding I've ever been to. And I didn't realise the procedure at American weddings.
What, when you hand out money?
Well, it's not just that, but like in this country, obviously, you have the bride and the bridesmaids and all that. She can have as many bridesmaids as she wants. Right. But in America, the best man, the groom can have as many best men as he wants. And
well, they have best men and they have what they call ushers, don't they?
Well, no, what happened was, don't you remember? So the groom turns up because it was done on the lawn, wasn't it?
That's
on
right,
this beautiful estate on Rhode Island, looking over the ocean and all this kind of stuff. Right. He turns up. And then it was
like something out of The Great Gatsby, wasn't it?
These 6 best men turn up. Yeah. But then when they all got there, the women were all right, but the men all started crying.
Did they?
Yeah, they all started crying.
See, I don't remember that well because I wasn't feeling very well.
Yeah,
I was all dosed up with penicillin.
They all started hugging each other and crying and they going on about the fraternity and all that. So presumably they all came from the same university college, did they? Yeah. Because they have a fraternity in these colleges,
yeah,
don't
I think
they?
so, yeah.
But honestly, they're all dropping to their knees and weeping and all this. And I thought, what's going on here? You know, I don't know whether the guy had some sort of medical problem or something like that. But in fact, it was just, we're losing you from the fraternity. And
see, I don't remember any of that.
Oh, I do. Yeah. Well, I don't know what you were doing.
I think I went back to the hotel relatively early because I really wasn't feeling very well. I had temperature. You know, I'd got on a plane. I was suffering from tonsillitis.
You were probably bladdered.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't even drinking because I literally couldn't. I had a really sore throat. I was hardly. I was barely smoking. That's how ill I was.
Good God.
You know,
must have been ill. Right now, here I
seem to remember there was some other episode with my dad involved in that as well. Wasn't there at the bar that night? Wasn't there some kind of fracas and he wandered off into the night or something? Or Bob Smith went missing or something.
Yeah, I remember something.
Somebody
went
missing.
Yeah,
anyway.
Somebody did. Yeah, but anyway, it was all right in the end.
Yeah, of course.
Now then, here we go. Even though baseball has turned me into a bit of bad language in this one,
you can't really do that.
I still qualify for mountain measuring job. That's a note from Dash. So people are picking up on your ridiculous assertion that Mount Everest has moved 3 centimetres.
Well, it has.
Like anybody knows or cares, and like it means anything.
So you don't think
to the working of the world.
You don't actually think that scientists can measure the movement of a mountain, do you? That's why you
they
don't
can,
believe
but I
the
don't
story.
know why they do. It's such a pointless exercise.
So
I don't know why they do.
You don't think it's worth mapping the changing nature of the planet on which we live? Is that what you're saying?
Honestly,
you'd rather live in blissful ignorance.
To think that some guy is actually employed to tell us that a mountain has moved 3 centimetres as a result of an earthquake, which I could have told you, by the way, it's just common sense.
Really?
Yeah, if you shake the earth around a bit, then things on top of it move.
Really?
I could have told you that.
Well, do you think K2's moved?
Well, what do you think happens to buildings in San Francisco when they have an earthquake? They move, right?
I've been to San Francisco during an earthquake.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And
some of them fall down.
Yeah, and you actually said, as our listeners remember, that you reckon the experience of being caught in an earthquake is the same as having sex.
No, I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
No, you misunderstood me.
No, you said that.
No, you misunderstood
That's because
me.
you're obsessed with sex.
No,
That's all
I'm not obsessed with it.
Spend your life doing most of the time,
I'm
trying
not
to find
obsessed with it.
opportunities.
Yeah, well, let's not talk
to
about
indulge in
sex, shall we?
Well,
Because
no,
that would
you
be
don't
a
like to because it embarrasses you.
No, it doesn't embarrass me. It'd just be a very one-sided conversation. Let's talk about Owen, who has sent this in. He says, I agree with Porky. Baseball is a game only played in a handful of countries. Like most sports played in the US, pointless. Well, if you think that about baseball, you're entirely entitled to think that. But Kevin disagrees. He says, baseball is a fantastic game. It's America's cricket. You couldn't get hired to sell peanuts. 3 strikes, you're out.
Yeah, well, OK, you say that. Why isn't it taken on in this country? Because nobody wants to play it.
It's just not a very popular game in this country.
Of course it's not. That's what I keep telling you. Now, Matt here says... hi, Porky. Looking at the picture, they are 3/4 length trousers, and they should be called 3/4 length trousers because they cover 3/4 of your leg. So that's a bit of a factual statement there from Matt. Thank you, Matt.
Be shorts, wouldn't they? That's the point.
Yes.
Anyway, I thought you wanted to talk about Tiger Woods, didn't you?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Tiger Woods.
But we're out of time.
No, we're not
out of time now.
You should never be out of time to talk about Tiger Woods. He said earlier on today he thinks he can still win another major.
Yeah.
I say that's impossible.
Yeah, all right. Well, in a minute you can explain.
We shall debate that next.
You can tell me why that is. Geordie Jeff says, does Porky's Gnome also play a tune? Because David Bowie once sang a song called The Laughing Gnome.
Ha ha ha, he. I'm a laughing gnome, but you can't catch me.
Well, maybe we can hear the real version of that coming up very shortly. Look into Light for
the chorus that I just gave you.
Curious song for David Bowie to sing, though, isn't it?
That came out in 1972. How do I know that?
How do you know that?
Because I was at the University of Trent,
really?
And it was on the jukebox in the 19th and 21st Lancers, which was the pub at the end of my road.
How is it possible that you have got like a crystal clear memory for something that happened in 1972, which, let's face it, is 40 years ago or more? 43 years ago, and yet you can't remember what you did yesterday.
Rubbish. Of course,
I'm telling you, because I have some experience of this. It is definitely the sign of dementia.
Don't be ridiculous. Well, can't you remember what happened in 1972?
Well, not with crystal. I wouldn't be able to name you the pub and the jukebox and all that.
There's something wrong.
Mind you, the problem is that I've just been told by those who know these things that actually it came out in 1967.
Oh, maybe it did, but it was
so
still
you
on the
got the year wrong by 5 years.
No, I didn't get the year wrong. It was on the jukebox in the 19th and 21st Lancers, which was opposite the Grove Hotel off Lenton Boulevard in Nottingham.
Now, there's a picture that's been sent in, which is actually from the show we did in London last Sunday night.
Oh, yes.
And it's from a taxi man who we met on that on the occasion after the show.
Very good.
He's standing next to you. You've got your arm around him. And he says, Mike, I'm only 5 foot, and you're the same height as him.
Oh, no, that's rubbish. No.
What do you mean it's rubbish? Why would he say he's only 5 foot?
Well, he's not 5 foot, is he? He's having a joke. He's having a laugh.
I think so.
I know you have a sense of humour failure, Mike, when we get onto this show, because you can't keep up with me mentally. And your reaction to that is to get bombastic rather than amusing.
Lots of people have already asked me if you've been on the Red Bull because of the way that you're attacking me every 5 minutes.
No, listen, I want to talk about... Now, would you say you and I have a, generally speaking, a reasonable working relationship and, we seem to just sort of rub along and as long as you...
I would say so, yeah.
realise your place in the...
I would say so.
In the stratosphere, that's all okay.
I would say
what about, and I'm seeking advice here now because I'm making the accusations, what about the friendship between Chris Evans and Jeremy Clarkson?
Yes, what about it? Do you think there is such a friendship?
Well, they have been friends for a long time, to the extent that Jeremy Clarkson went and did a sketch with Chris Evans on a one-off revival of Thank God It's Friday, right?
Right.
Is it TFA?
They brought the series back, haven't they?
Well, I think this was the pilot for it or something. It was a one-off.
The only thing I saw about that was that people apparently went to Twitter when Lewis Hamilton ended up as the last guest and said that this guy's literally killing the show. He's got so little personality that we've all switched off.
Who?
Lewis Hamilton.
Really? Did people say that?
Yeah, they did. People on Twitter absolutely hated Lewis Hamilton being interviewed by Chris Evans because he had nothing to say.
Oh, blimey, I didn't see that. No. But anyway, look, the point I'm making is Chris Evans has now been unveiled as the new host of Top Gear. But this comes, and this is not me saying it, this is looking at reports tonight, weeks after insisting he didn't want the job.
That's right, yeah.
So,
well, not only did he say he didn't want the job, he went to quite sort of long pains to explain why he didn't want the job.
Yeah,
he was too busy doing all the other things.
And he wasn't going to take the job.
And he wasn't taking it if it was offered to him.
Interested. Yeah, right. It was his favourite show. He'd rather be a viewer.
Do you think he was being economical with the truth then?
Well, no, I think like all things in life, I think that if, By look at it this way: by Chris Evans raising even the issue that I don't want the job, that could easily have sparked an idea in a producer's head somewhere at the BBC to think, hang on, he'd actually be the best guy for the job.
Maybe, how about
which is a very clever way of putting yourself up for a job sometimes. You know what I mean?
Maybe this is a scenario. Perhaps what he was doing at that time was to sort of be nice to his friend Jeremy Clarkson, because that was at the time when we didn't know whether Jeremy Clarkson was going to be working on the show or not.
Yes.
So maybe he didn't want to say. It's a bit like when managers are approached and they say, well, there isn't currently a vacancy at Liverpool, so obviously I wouldn't be interested in having a job that isn't available.
Exactly.
Maybe he was saying, I'm not interested in having that job, basically, because, I don't know whether my mate Jeremy's going to be fired or not.
Yeah. But the other complication...
You see, you're not listening now.
No, I was listening. I took every word in.
No, you went that thing that you do.
Yeah. Jeremy Clarkson, be fired or not, were your last words. I took it all in.
I didn't say the word fired.
Yes, you did. Now, what I was going to say was, this is further complicated by the fact that another story, which must have been put into the ether by a publicist, was that the other two guys, what are they called? James May and Richard Hammond. Had been offered a collected £8 million between them to do another series for 2 years.
What, for the BBC?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But apparently it says in the reports coming out tonight that Chris Evans will start the new show with a whole new team.
Yeah, so they're not involved in that.
All new lineups, they're not involved in it.
So do you expect perhaps then that the Hammond and May will rejoin Clarkson working for somebody else then?
Well, aren't they supposed to be going off to Netflix? Isn't that
I don't know. It could be, yeah.
Is Netflix a production company as
well?
well?
Basically. I mean, Netflix has now become, because of big series that they've done like House of Cards with Kevin Spacey, it's become a massive player in commissioning shows.
Okay, well...
So they could do that.
All I would say about that is, in my experience, once you go off mainstream... you can easily become forgotten. I mean, I know they're very talented. I know it's a great show. I know it's incredibly popular. But, for instance, just a small example... Football matches on ITV or BBC because it's mainstream.
We saw how many people watched the Champions League final. 4.5 million on ITV and 400,000 on Sky.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Once you go off the mainstream, what we used to call analogue channels, what are they now called? Terrestrial?
Well, they're called sort of
mainstream terrestrial channels, for want of a better word. You do have a problem with the number of people who tune in to watch it.
But isn't that now going to change, though? Certainly with European football, in terms of things like BT Sport are now going to carry all the Champions League football, so you won't be anywhere else to watch it.
Well, do you know what? They're going to have a problem with... I mean, look, I admire them for their boldness and for their vision and all that. But, for instance, just the sheer paperwork now involved in making sure that I've got facilities to receive BT Champions League games in the three places where I live... is just a nightmare for me.
Why don't you just order the channels?
Well, I've already ordered the BT channel, and in one of my houses I need it by subscription. But because I'm on Sky. But in another one, when I've got a BT phone, I get it for free. That's all now changing, apparently. Now there's going to be charges for certain games and not for others and all that kind of stuff. And it all becomes a bit of a nightmare. And in the end, I'm thinking to myself,
I'm sorry, I don't think
I'm not sure I can be bothered.
Well, I'm not sure anyone's feeling sorry for you, because in your 3 different homes, you've got a lot of paperwork to get through.
Well, it is. I mean...
why don't you just have one home like everybody else?
Well, most people do have one home, but I bet they'll feel the same as me. Oh, I can't be bothered to ring up and order this, or should I have to pay another £12
I must admit, I'm in a bit of
a
quandary about it, because I don't have BT channels in either place where I am, right? And I'm not even sure if I can be bothered to get them.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the problem.
Now, you see, you ridiculed my point, and now you've admitted you feel exactly the...
Well, no, but you've already got the channels, though, you say.
Yeah,
I've already got them. I don't have them. That's my point.
Yeah, but I mean...
I would have to change my broadband supplier in order to get them.
Well, you wouldn't have to change your broadband supply. You would have to take an additional service.
Because if I don't have a satellite hookup, which I don't have in my place in London, right?
I see.
Because I just have Freeview there.
Oh, I see.
That would mean that I would have to hook up with BT or Sky or somebody else.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
And that's not really something I particularly want to do.
No. Will people be bothered?
Yeah.
Now, funny enough, you should say that. And this is the whole thing about how you access broadcasting these days. Claudia Winkleman, who of course is a sort of known to us through her mother, Eve Pollard, for whom
Lady Pollard,
we all worked with her at the Express in the 80s, 90s.
Very fine woman.
Very fine woman, who is Claudia's mother.
Yeah, well, you don't have to give any more secrets
away.
No.
Now, what I'm saying is, she said in a sort of throwaway comment last weekend, well, I haven't got a television.
Yeah.
You know, I don't let my children sit in front of the tellies all the time. I don't have a television in the house. Anyway,
really?
She said, I haven't got a television.
Claudia Winkleman said that.
Claudia Winkleman said, we do not have
Who works on television.
Who works on television. Yeah. She made this point. It's strange, that, isn't it? I work on television. I haven't got a television in my house.
Right.
Now, she has now retracted that and said, well, no.
I'm not sure that's true, is it? Do you think that's true?
What?
That she doesn't have a TV?
No, she's retracted it and said, I'm sorry, it was a joke. Because a lot of people questioned her and said, you must have a TV.
Right.
Surely
That's
you've
what
got
I
a
mean.
TV.
That couldn't be true, could it?
So she has now. But she did make the point that my children very rarely look at television.
Yeah.
Because what they want to see, they get on their iPads and tabs.
Sure.
What's it called?
Tablets.
And all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So what I was going to say to you is the very nature of what we do these days inside our homes means that more and more people are in fact turning away from getting a television.
It's like the TV watching habits of people have changed dramatically ever since they had things like, Sky Plus, ever since you can record things, ever since you've got multiple channels which repeat things, ever since you've got things like BBC iPlayer, which means that you can watch shows on your computer after they've aired. Same with podcasting. I mean, people listen to podcasts now and don't necessarily listen to live radio.
Yeah, no.
The habits of people are changing depending on what they do and how they work and all that.
I totally agree. But getting back to the original point, this is the question we were asking and you haven't given me an answer.
Well, you haven't asked me a direct question.
Do you think Chris Evans has stabbed his mate Jeremy Clarkson in the back?
No, I don't.
By taking on the controlling role now in Top Gear?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No, because I'll tell you for why. Two reasons. One, Jeremy Clarkson, I think, had enough. I think Jeremy Clarkson sort of, I would say, if you were to ask him in his kind of heart of hearts, did he get involved in that incident because he was looking for a way out? Either, unconsciously or consciously, I would say that's probably what happened. I think he'd had enough. He'd been doing the show
I think
for
he's
a very
bereft
long
at
time.
losing the show.
No, I think he'd been doing the show for too long.
I think he's bereft.
He was aware of the fact that it was running out of ideas. He was getting bored by it. He was behaving in a belligerent way.
True.
No, because that's what happens. He was behaving in a belligerent way in order to sort of, find some exit plan that either they would organise or he could organise.
Yep.
And I think in TV land, as it is in radio land, people are not really necessarily close friends if they happen to be rivals about something. I mean, if you, for example, were to say to me, I've got 5 close friends in radio, I would say you're a liar.
Well, I'd never claimed to have 5 close friends in radio.
So you haven't?
No.
You've been working in radio for, 15 years?
Yes.
And you haven't got 5 close friends in radio?
No.
Well, that's amazing, isn't it?
No, it's not, because it's shifting sands. People who may have been my close friend in radio maybe have left and gone somewhere, or they've died.
You might stitch them up, or they've died.
No, they died. Mike, Mike was a very good friend of mine, and he's died.
Mike who?
Mike who did the mid-morning show.
Who, Mike Dickin?
Mike Dickin.
Yeah.
Mike Dickin,
He was a good friend of yours?
Yeah, he was a very good friend of mine. Yeah. I used to... we always had a plan for me to get... He lived very near Jamaica Inn on Dartmoor.
Yeah.
And we always had a plan that one of these days I was going to go down there and join him for a great Sunday lunch. He used to do these great Sunday roasts.
Yeah.
Because he would drink all day on Sunday and then get up very early on Monday morning and come up to and do his show, you know. And
sounds like an ideal Sunday for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And just as we were about to arrange it, sadly Mike passed away, so that never came about. But he was a very good friend, yeah.
Okay.
And that's what happens. Other friends
But you
move
can't
on
count
to
any
other jobs.
Friends, then?
Sorry?
We haven't got any other friends.
Well, I'd say Mr. Brazil's a friend, in as much as Mr. Brazil wants friends or needs friends. And, he's been a working colleague for 15 years. And as for yourself, well, what can you say?
Look into the light. It's that kind of time of night. We've got Ask Porky coming up. We've got loads of questions, but if you want to try and get some in under the wire, send them in at the 2 mics, and we'll see if we can get them included. Lots more coming up. We still haven't talked about Tiger Woods yet. This is Talk Sport.
That's right.
If you love the 2 Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1 a.m. on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM, and via the Talk Sport app. Talk Sport, your Premier League station, with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
Talk Sport.
And that's a magic number.
What does it all mean?
Difficult preaching is posthumous pleasure.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time with the 2 Mics. There will be a podcast coming out in a little while. I do promise at some point we will be talking about Tiger Woods at the US Open, which takes place at Chambers Bay this year. Fantastic looking golf course, by the way.
He thinks he can win. Yeah, it's the first time they've ever had it in the Northwest Pacific quarter of America, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
And,
the Pacific Northwest, even.
Yeah, Pacific North, that's what I just said.
You said the Northwest Pacific.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing.
See, the Northwest Pacific would actually be in the middle of the Pacific.
No,
in the Northwest quadrant of it.
No, it
the Pacific Northwest, on the other hand,
don't be so pedantic.
I'm not being pedantic, I'm being precise.
I'm being exactly precise. What I'm saying. It's just below Seattle.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, exactly.
Very rainy there. It could be very
Seattle.
wet. It looks like an old. Looks like one of those new Scottish links courses. Looks great. No trees. It'll be very exciting.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Now then, and the idea that Tiger Woods thinks he can win another major is just ridiculous.
I think you'll find that out of all the presenters here at Talk Sport, I said for many a year, and nobody believed me for ages, was that Tiger Woods would never win another major.
Yeah.
This was after, even before he actually started crashing his car and and getting involved in problems with his wife.
No, his downfall started the minute his wife swung a golf club at the back window of his departing 4x4.
That was his downfall. However,
yes.
It was before that time that he'd last won a major. That's my point.
It was 7 years ago today.
Yeah.
Yesterday. 7 years ago yesterday when he won his last major US Open, when he had the broken ligaments in his knee. And he did it on one leg. Yeah. And of course he was out of the next 3 tournaments because of injury. But then he never came back.
That was when I predicted that he'd never win another major, and it looks as though I'm going to be proved right. So I'd just like you to acknowledge that.
Is this prediction on the record?
Well, I said it on the air, so I think everybody heard it. Many people who've been listening to me for a long time know that that's what I said.
Really? Yeah.
They do.
I believe that one.
Anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. I've seen this new story about the lottery, by the way. For some reason, because of the unpopularity of the lottery now. You still do the lottery, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Because you're still after winning £1 million or something like that,
well,
even though you don't
at least
really need the money.
I'd like it a bit more. I'd like it 3 or 4.
Yeah, but you don't need the money, do you?
Well, everybody needs money. What do you mean you don't need the money?
But you're comfortably off. You don't need to win the lottery. Why don't you leave it for people who could do with it more than you?
Because my only ambition left in life, which I've not fulfilled, is to help as many people as I possibly can.
Is that right?
And you can help people by acquiring more wealth and distributing that wealth to those
who don't have it themselves.
Do you really expect
anybody to believe that?
Yes, of course I do.
You've already got more wealth than you know what to do with, right?
No, that's true. See, I really resent that. That's terribly untrue. You're trying to make out that I'm some sort of...
You just told me you got 3 homes, right? You live alone. You don't have to supply anybody with money. You don't have to support anybody.
How do you know?
What do you mean, how do I know? Well, because I know because you don't have any children.
Well, it doesn't matter. I've got an extensive family, and they're all getting older.
You may have an extensive family, but
I have responsibilities.
They're all perfectly well set up. It's not as if you need to support them.
But you make all these assumptions like this. I mean, there are people who rely on me in life.
All right. Well, let me put it to you another way.
Yes.
There are many, many more people who are much worse off than you than there are who are better off than you. Let's put it that way.
Well, that is true. But that would be true of somebody earning £40,000 a year.
Well, that's not you, though, is
it? As a tube train driver in London.
One of those people you look down on.
No, I don't at all. It's a noble job, and it's a good job. And they could say, compared to a lot of people, of working nature in London, I'm better off. But compared to a lot, I'm not better off because all these people in the West End are like millions and all that kind of stuff.
Let's try and ask the question yet another way.
Right.
There are many people to whom winning £1 million would change their life. Okay.
Yes.
For you to win £1 million would not change your life.
Well, it would. Of course it would.
How would it?
Oh, I'd get a bit more, expansive in my spending, I suppose.
That's what I mean. You wouldn't change your life. You'd still go to Wetherspoons and eat fish and chips.
Yeah, I probably would.
You'd still drive the same car. You'd still live in the same 3 houses. You'd still help the same number of people. Your life wouldn't change.
I might go to America a couple of times a year, stay in the Essex House Hotel.
Well, that's not changing your life, though, is it?
Well, I suppose not, no. Listen, getting back
Anyway, what are they doing? Tell us.
What?
What are they doing with the lottery?
Well, they're extending the number of balls from which the 6 winning numbers are chosen from 49 balls to 59.
And why are they doing that?
Well, they say because there's the lottery now is a weird complication of the original balls that come out and then another lucky draw.
I think there's too many permutations.
Well, the lucky draw thing are a series of numbers which appear on the bottom of your ticket, right? And you have to match those up to the lucky draw.
Is that what it's called, lucky draw?
I think it's lucky draw, something like that. And it comes under all different colours, like blue, magenta, pink, purple. Really, it's all these strange things.
So when you now buy a lottery ticket for £2, which is double what it used to be,
yes.
which was one. But last time I bought a lottery ticket was the first year it came out.
Yes,
right?
£2.
And for about 2 months I bought a lottery ticket. I gave up after that. Yeah. So now when you buy your lottery ticket for £2, you're not just looking for the 6 numbers. No, you're now looking for coloured numbers as well.
Well, no, you're looking for this this colour code number, which they have in it. Now the point is, what the lottery say is they say, oh, this increases people's chances. At the moment, it's 1 in 14 million, the chance of winning the lottery.
The whole lot,
to getting the 6 numbers right. Now, Camelot, who run the lottery, say, don't worry, the way we're doing it with the new one, although we're putting up the number of balls to 59, because of the other part of the draw, the lucky numbers and all that, the chances of winning now improve to 1 to 10 million. You'd think that was a pretty long shot as well. But lottery expert Professor Ian Walker, we know an Ian Walker, don't we? He's a newspaper executive.
Yeah, but he's not the same guy, though.
No, exactly. Professor Ian Walker said the odds against scooping the top prize now will rocket from 1 in 13.9 million, that's 1 in 14 million, to 1 in 45 million.
Well, they can't both be right, can they?
Professor Walker of Lancaster University Management School said the change of winning the jackpot lengthens considerably.
So your chances of winning the actual jackpot have increased, have decreased rather.
Decreased.
Right? But your chances of winning this other coloured thing have increased.
Well, that depends on whose evidence you believe. Yeah. It's impossible to say. I tell you what, if I read it all tonight and decide the chances have gone from 1 in 14 million to 1 to 45 million, what's the point of me buying the ticket? Look, you'd have to.
Why?
Because Well,
do you really seriously believe that you've got more chance of winning it if it's 1 in 14 million?
Yes, you do.
Well, of course you don't.
No, you do.
Absolute rubbish.
You do if you do my method.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
Well, what's your method then?
I buy 10 tickets on 10 lines on a Saturday and 10 on a Wednesday.
So how have you done so far?
Sorry?
How have you won? How many times have you won it?
I've quite a lot. I've won quite a lot.
You've never won it.
I have.
You've never won the jackpot.
I've won lots of £25 in the last year.
Congratulations! Yeah. How much do you spend on a week?
£20.
£20 a week.
Yes.
So over a course of a year, that's how much money?
£1,000.
£1,000.
Yes.
And you've won how many times?
In the last 12 months?
Yeah.
I would say about 8 times.
You've won 8 times for 25 quid.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say so.
You're losing money then.
Well, of course you are, because you know you're not going to win every week. But, I'm doing OK. But what I'm saying is...
What do you mean you're doing OK? If you were running a company, you would not be doing OK. You'd be losing money every single year.
Listen, at the moment, it's a chance of 1 in 14 million if you buy one ticket.
You haven't won that at all, have you?
Hang on. Listen, just hear me out, because I'm a mathematical whiz kid on this.
Really?
Right. So your chances of winning at the moment, 1 in 14 million.
Yeah.
Now, if you have the Porky philosophy, if you buy 10 tickets on a Saturday...
Right.
That reduces to 1 in 1.4 million.
Rubbish.
Of course it does.
It doesn't work like that.
It does.
No.
If you buy 10 lines...
Each ticket has a 1 in 14 million chance of winning, right? So if you buy 10 tickets, each ticket still has a 1 in 14 million chance of winning.
Yes, but if you buy 10 tickets...
It doesn't get reduced by 10.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
Listen,
Rubbish.
If you buy... Look, just separate ticket from line, OK? Ticket from line.
So do you think if you bought 14 million tickets, you'd win the lottery?
Yeah, of course you would.
Why?
You'd have to.
Why?
Because somebody would have to win it.
You think they only sell 14 million tickets?
No.
How do you think it works then?
I think it works on the chances of probability. If you bought 14 million tickets for 4 consecutive weeks, you would win.
No, you wouldn't.
But then you'd be
because
14
it depends
million
on how many
quid short
tickets
each
they
week.
sell.
Listen,
Depends on how many tickets they sell.
Don't get away from the original issue. Don't get away from the issue. I buy 10 lines on a Saturday. Stop laughing, because you know you're wrong.
No,
I buy... Listen, just listen to this.
I'm listening.
And I want our listeners to judge on this, right?
Okay.
I buy 10 lines on a Saturday.
Right.
The accepted odds of winning are 1 in 14 million. I reduce that to 1 in 1.4 million.
That's
I do.
my point. You don't.
I do. By buying 10 times the number of lines...
it doesn't work like that.
I definitely
Every
do.
ticket has the same odds of winning.
No, and because I buy another 10 on a Wednesday, that reduces it by another 10, so my chances of winning are 1 in 140,000.
Yeah.
That's how I do it.
Really?
That's
so why don't you buy another 100 tickets then and reduce your odds even more? At what point do you cut off the odds improvement?
Well, that's the old gamble, isn't it? That's always the gamble, you know. How much you bet on a horse that you think is the favourite.
You honestly believe that you've cut down your chances to 1 in 140,000? That's what you think.
I do. Yes, I do.
And how many times have you won the lottery?
Well, I've just told you that,
None.
you oaf.
No,
Don't keep asking me the same question.
You haven't won it at all, have you?
No, I haven't won it.
No.
I haven't won the big one.
So your system doesn't work?
I've had 4 numbers.
Yeah.
3 times, and won between 75 and 78
I don't
pounds.
know where you find the time to do all this.
And I got 5 numbers once.
Did you? What did you get for that?
£1,600.
Oh, when did you get that then?
Actually, it was...
I don't remember you sharing it.
No.
I do remember one time you asking for money for me to buy a lottery ticket, which you then said resulted in some winnings, which you didn't share with me.
No, I wouldn't do that, because
I do
I was
remember
alone
that.
to purchase the ticket. I think that was only about 4 years ago, and I won 1,600.
I don't remember you telling me about it.
Well, I probably didn't, because I didn't want to spend it on you or share it with you, because I thought, you know, you're a...
Well, surely by your system, right, what you should now do,
Yes.
if it's true that the move has gone from, the odds have now moved from 1 in 14 million to 1 in 45 million, you just have to buy more tickets.
Well, yeah, but it comes a cut-off line. Listen, sorry to interrupt here and go back to the Chris Evans story.
I'm not sure we've got time, though.
No, just very, very quickly, a tweet has just come into my possession, supplied by one of our researchers.
Yeah.
This is Chris Evans at the time that Jeremy Clarkson left.
Yeah.
at Sky News Top Gear debate, I can categorically say I am not and will never be running for office. Please discount my candidacy. That's pretty clear.
That is pretty clear, isn't it? He didn't mean that either. This is Talk Sport. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. Loads of that was You Drive Me Crazy.
You drive me crazy.
Well, we just heard that one.
I know, but the one we all
Behind
love
the Green Door is the one you think
now,
of,
what's the
isn't it?
words to that? You know, there's an old... I know, excuse me, I'll get the right key. There's an old piano and they play it hard behind the green door.
Well, I'm delighted you know the words.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shaky Stevens, never one of my big favourites,
I thought he was great.
He was not great.
And do you know what?
He was awful.
Do you know who I think he modelled his style on?
What, Elvis?
No.
Alvin Stardust.
Alvin Stardust, yeah.
Well, he was a cross between Alvin Stardust and Elvis, wasn't he? Well, hang on, before you go on about him, right?
I love you.
I seem to remember you did an Alvin Stardust. Did you not do an Alvin Stardust sort of impersonation?
I think I did,
a few weeks or months ago.
Yeah.
Now, here's one from Gary.
Hang on, why are we playing that record? We've got to
no
tell
idea.
the listener. Well, I'm just about to tell you.
Well, go on then, get on with it.
about to tell you.
Well, hurry up then.
Shaky Stevens was voted as the best Welsh voice of... Shaking Stevens.
Shaky Stevens?
Shaking.
Shaking.
Yeah, well, we call him Shaky, don't we, as fans?
Well, I don't know. I'm not one of his fans.
we call him Shaky.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, of course he's still alive.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, he's been voted the best Welsh voice of all time,
Really?
above Sir Tom Jones
Rubbish.
and Dame Shirley Bassey.
Well, that's ridiculous. He's not that good.
Shaky gained the most votes for Wales' greatest living voice, so he's still alive, obviously. Yeah. You know, not the greatest dead voice. Favourites for Sir Tom and Dame Shirley...
Well, they're still alive too.
Finished... Yeah, I know, but they're 4th and 5th.
That's why they're in the poll.
From a short list of 30. Second was James Dean Bradfield. Who's
Yes,
he?
he's from the Manic Street Preachers.
Yeah, well done. I wouldn't have known that.
Well, of course you wouldn't have known that.
Third was the musical theatre actor John Owen Jones. Stevens, known as Shaky, achieved fame in 81 with the number 1 hit single "This Old House."
Yeah.
String of top hits. Well, hang on. Where's Charlotte Church in this? Because she's Welsh, isn't she?
She certainly is.
She's very Welsh.
And so is the guy, what's his face? The guy who did the Snowman.
Alan Jones.
Alan Jones.
Yeah.
He's Welsh as well.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. They've got a lot of good singers.
And what about the girl from Catatonia? Where's she?
Catatonia? Never heard of her.
You never heard of Catatonia?
No,
Keris Matthews.
Oh, Keris Matthews. I've
You
never
know,
heard of her, yeah.
Road Rage.
But the problem is, you see, since the coal mines all closed down, there's no more Welsh choirs. And
That's not true.
And there's not. And there's no Welsh choirs.
Did you not
won't
see
get
who
great
was
singers.
staying in the hotel we were in Portsmouth?
Who?
A Welsh choir.
What do you mean, the Welsh choir? What are you on
There was a
about?
massive Welsh choir staying in there.
Was there?
Because you were looking over at this woman, right?
Oh, I
They were
didn't
dressed
notice
in a
them.
full Welsh national dress.
Were they?
All the guys had red blazers on.
Oh, I wonder
And
what
they
who those
completely-
people were.
They completely packed out the hotel.
Oh, I didn't know what they
And
were.
they were all in a big coach, right?
Oh, I thought
So-
it was a fancy dress
There's a big sign
party
that
or
said,
something.
the Aberavon male Welsh choir.
Really?
So much for your observance.
I missed that.
Yeah, I don't know. You
But
missed it either.
but the trouble is, since they closed down the Rhondda Valley boyo,
Yeah.
you've got no great Welsh singers anymore.
That's not true.
And you've got no great
Rubbish.
no
What about
great
stereophonics?
and you've got no great Welsh rugby players.
That's not true either.
Because you used to be able to shout down a mine and get a fly half, but you can't do that anymore.
No, you
because they closed all the mines.
Now you go down the pub for a fly half.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, a quick
Well, that's
half.
not true.
Yeah, you're a quick
That is
half
not
down
true.
the pub.
First of all, they haven't closed off the Rhondda Valley.
Yeah,
the
they have.
Rhondda Valley is still open.
No.
They just don't have very much coal mining
No,
going
that's
on.
what I'm saying. They closed all the mines down
Well,
in
you've
the
just
Rhondda.
given a whole litany of names of people who are great singers.
What was it called? Valley of My Fathers or something? No.
Land of My Fathers.
Land of My Fathers, yeah.
This Sporting Life, do you remember that movie?
No, How Green is My Valley.
Yeah. Richard Harris.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. Now, let me read you a few tweets here because people seem to think that you've got this lottery thing around your ears.
No, I've got it right.
Mark from Bristol says, how does Porky spend £20 a week if he buys 2 lots of 10 lines? That's 40 quid.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it's 2 lots of 5 now. Yeah. It is, I'm sorry, thank you for correcting me. It's 5 on a Saturday and 5 on a Wednesday. It used to be 10 when they were £1 each.
Right,
yeah.
And I think that was... Sorry, Gary from Chelmsford says, Mike Parry, you're spending £40 a week, not £20. Mathematical genius.
Yeah.
Great show.
No.
And the other one's from Mark in Bristol. Jamie in Preston says, Parry's an idiot. If the chance of winning the lottery is 1 in 14 million, if you buy 10 tickets, then you have 10 chances in 14 million to win, which is what I was saying.
Yeah, which makes it 1.4 million per line.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
It does not.
It does.
Here's what
Our
Roy
experts
says.
behind the glass have researched it and
Well, they
concluded
don't
I'm
always
right.
get everything right. Roy says this: Porky has totally lost it. Buy 1 million tickets or one. Each ticket has the same odds of winning. It's not a raffle.
I know that, but the problem is the more tickets you buy, the more chance you've got of getting the combination of 6 numbers right.
Yeah.
You must understand that. I mean, I'm sorry, I have
Porky
great
says,
respect
Glenn-
for all our listeners, but these guys are brain dead when they try to tell me that I've got it wrong.
No.
On this occasion, I've got it right.
Glenn says, Porky, you are so wrong about the lottery odds.
No, I'm not.
He doesn't explain, though, why.
I'm not. Exactly. They can't explain, you see. It's all very well, trying to ring up here and abuse me and tell me that I'm an oaf and all that, but I'm not.
Yeah, you are a bit of an oaf.
On this occasion, I've got it right.
Yeah, here's one. Surely one ticket is 14 million to 1. Your second ticket is 13,999,999 to 1.
No, it's not. No, you don't understand mathematics, I'm afraid.
So you think it's half the odds then
I
if you buy 2
studied
tickets?
mathematics at the King's School Chester under a great maths teacher called Reg Reed.
Why are you giving his name out?
Well, I thought I would, because that's right. Yeah.
Is he still alive?
Do you know what?
Or has he drunk himself to death?
Well,
like most of your friends.
It was very interesting, actually, old Reg Reed, because he was the only southerner at the King's School Chester.
Yeah, was he?
He was a Cockney, and his name, my name is Reg Reed,
Well, so was it Michael Caine?
Yeah. He did sound a bit like Michael Caine. My name is Reg Reed, but he was a brilliant maths teacher. And 2 things about Reg. When I first started doing my paper round, he used to deliver papers all over the area I lived in, near Hull. And I suddenly...
Do you know there's a guy on Twitter who keeps taking pictures of Hull?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Have you noticed that?
He
keeps
sent me a
going, I think
picture
his
of the
name's
street.
Stephen. He keeps sending pictures of like the street he thinks you grew up in.
He did. Laurel Grove in Chester. He sent me a picture of it. And
Is that the street you grew up in?
Yeah, it
Does
is.
it look the same?
Well, it's a cul-de-sac, and we lived right at the bottom of the cul-de-sac, bottom house on the right, and he took the picture from the top of the cul-de-sac. But it was very kind of him. Thank you very much indeed, if you're listening. But no, the point is, I cycled up this driveway one day and went to deliver the paper, saw a man washing his car, and it was Reg Reed, my maths teacher, who complimented me on my... entrepreneurial spirit in delivering papers.
Did he know that you were ripping off the newsagent?
I wasn't ripping off the
Yes,
newsagent.
you were.
No, I wasn't.
You told me that you used to rip off the newsagent.
I just take a few papers home. There were spare papers, that's all, because I like papers. I like reading about the football on the back pages.
Yeah.
I was only about 11 or 12.
Yeah, well, you were being dishonest, weren't you?
No, I used to take them back when I'd read them, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, but you called them returns, didn't you?
Yes, I did, yes, absolutely.
So for which he got paid back?
Yes, that's right.
Even though you read them? So technically that's theft.
Well, it's not as thieving as going shoplifting with my mates from school,
It's
like
exactly
you've
the
admitted
same.
to.
It's
No,
the
it's
same.
not.
It's the same as going into a newsagent, taking a bunch of newspapers out of the newsagent and reading them without paying.
No, do you know what all the other lads used to do? Because they were dishonest, because they all went to the local secondary
Well, one of your mates
school.
stole a scooter, didn't he? You've already told us about that.
Honesty was instilled in me because I went to the King's School Chester, a fine establishment. But some of the other lads, they would literally... Because we had these big canvas bags, you see, which you used to put the papers in. And they used to chuck bars of chocolate in there and everything. It was terrible, honestly, it really was.
From where?
From inside the newsagents.
So, shoplifting then?
Well, they were shoplifting. They used to steal cigarettes as well at the age of like 12 and 13. And they'd go smoking them. It was terrible, honestly.
Yeah, OK. Now, here's a story for you that I spotted.
I don't know how I turned out so well, really, when I was immersed in...
Is that what you think?
All that sort of crookery.
You turned out well. Crookery. Now, have you seen this story?
Right.
Free chilled water is going to be supplied in machines to thirsty commuters and tourists in Westminster and at Tower Bridge.
What do you mean?
What do you mean, what do I mean? It's a pretty straightforward story.
What do you mean? Are they going to be on the streets?
Free drinking water machines at Westminster and Tower Piers, and they could be rolled out all across London. What do you think of that?
And what do you drink the water out of?
You drink it out of a cup or a receptacle, whichever you have to
That's
hand.
what I mean. But I mean, do they supply those as well, or to bring your own?
Well, you can bring your own, or there are other cups that you can use.
Yeah, it doesn't sound very healthy, that, to me, to be honest.
They're saying that probably the best thing is to bring your own bottle, which you can then refill.
Yeah,
well, what's wrong with that?
Well, it all sounds a bit Mickey Mouse to me, that, you know.
What, so you don't think it's a good idea?
No, I don't. No, it's one of these.
I mean, how many times have you walked around London in a heat wave, as you complain about frequently, and fancy a nice cold glass of water? And you don't want to go into a bar for a glass of water because you don't want to go in and ask for a free glass of water. You don't want to pay for a glass of water. Especially if you've got children. It's a great idea. I think it's a terrific idea.
No, I'm organised. My life is organised.
No, you just go to the pub and have a pint of beer.
Well, I wouldn't actually. If it was a hot day like that, I'd have a pint of lager and lime, which I find extremely refreshing.
Yeah, but it's still alcoholic, though.
Well, it is alcoholic, yeah. Or I might have a pint of shandy. I drink a lot of shandy in this sort of weather. Believe me, I do. And that is also
I'm
very
saying, I think this
refreshing.
I'm saying this is a great initiative.
Yeah, well, I say it'll all go wrong because the machines will break down, they'll get vandalised, foreign people won't be able to understand them.
Foreign people won't be able to understand them?
No, they won't, no.
It's a water machine.
Yeah, I know, but they won't be able to understand the instructions.
Most people who come here on holiday as tourists actually speak better English than some of the people who live here.
Well, not if they come from Japan, they don't.
Really?
Because Japanese people don't necessarily think it's...
you think Japanese people don't speak English? Is that what you're going to tell me?
Well, Japanese people don't think it's necessarily, a requisite of life to speak English, but Europeans do, because we...
You think Japanese tourists don't speak English? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm not saying that. That's too much of a generalisation.
No, generalisation, heaven forbid.
I'm saying that, if you go to Japan, you'll find not a lot of people in Japan speak English. If you go to Germany, most people in Germany speak English. If you go to France, most people in France speak English, though the majority of them pretend not to speak English, particularly as the celebrations for the victory of the Battle of Waterloo are only a day away.
Oh, really?
They won't be speaking any English in France for the next day or two because they're a very proud nation. Yeah. They don't like to admit that they lost the major military battle in the history of the world.
What on earth are you talking about?
Well, apart from the Armada and Trafalgar.
Andy the Cobbler says, what about Catherine Jenkins as the Welsh singer?
Yeah, well, she's Welsh, isn't she? Yeah, that's true. That's true. I've seen her sing the national anthem at the Millennium Stadium.
Good.
And by the way, somebody said to me the other night, when Wales had this great victory, didn't they? Fantastic.
Tremendous. I made Wales one of the big winners in Winners and Losers, which is why I beat you by 2-1.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was so obvious I didn't want to do it because you don't have the breadth of thought that I have.
You prefer to put in some hippo from Tbilisi.
Well, yeah, the hippo was... we should all celebrate and our hearts rejoice that we saved a hippo. But the point I was going to make was that game took place at the Cardiff City Ground, 32,000.
It did.
And it only reminded me for the first time that actually the Millennium is the property of the RFU, isn't it? of the Welsh Rugby.
Welsh Rugby Union, yeah. WRU.
Yeah, WRU.
It is.
And so football have second call on it.
Footballers are very, very happy not to play football there because the turf isn't very good, because it's removable turf.
Yeah.
They're not very interested in playing inside a stadium where the roof can be closed, and they're much happier playing at a place called the Cardiff Stadium.
Are they? Even with a smaller number of people?
Yeah, because that's one of the reasons they were so lifted by the atmosphere. Because in Millennium Stadium, it's great atmosphere if everybody's going crazy.
Yes.
But you can't always sell all the tickets. Now, talking of tickets, got a few more tweets and texts to read out. You can text us on 81089.
What's that got to do with tickets?
Here's one from someone who doesn't give a name. I was better at arithmetic when I was 8 years old than Parry was. Calls himself a mathematical genius.
Yes.
LOL. Lee in South Wales says, for someone who claims to be smarter than the average bear, you ain't half thick, Porky. You do not increase your chances tenfold by buying 10 tickets.
Yes, you do.
And here's one from Ian in Rossendale. He said, good morning, both Mikes. The lottery is the same as playing bingo. It doesn't matter whether you play with 6 sheets of numbers or 1 sheet. The chances of getting the 15 numbers up on any given sheet is exactly the same.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. If you buy 10 tickets, then you have 10 times the chance.
But on bingo, you have to get it on 1 sheet. You can't just have 15 sheets.
Well, you don't have to in the lottery. In the lottery, you've got to get the 6 numbers on 10 lines, and if you've got 10 lines, you've got 10 times the chance of 1 line. It's as simple as that. And if nobody can understand that basic mathematic principle,
you've got 10 times
then
the
if
chance.
I were you, I would get back to school.
But you've got the 10 times the chance at the same odds on each ticket.
No,
because
honestly,
the thing you're getting wrong about this is that you think because the odds are 14 million to 1 that there's 14 million tickets out there, which there aren't.
No, I don't at all. What's that thing called that's got all the balls on that you work out mathematical problems on? Lexicon?
An abacus.
Abacus, yeah. Get the abacus out, people, if you don't believe me. It is absolutely true. On this occasion, I know I am indomitably right.
Indomitably?
Yes.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time, and it is with Mike Parry and Mike Graham. There will be a podcast coming out, but unfortunately Mr. Parry doesn't seem to have made it back into his seat, so I don't know where he is. Oh, he's coming in now. Where on earth have you been?
My gnome.
Eh?
I went down to the car to get my gnome.
Why'd you go down to the car to get your gnome?
This is the gnome my mum bought me.
Oh, yeah?
My mum bought me this.
So you're going to unveil the gnome now, are you?
Well, I have not.
It's a very large box.
Well, it arrived today.
Yeah.
Porky Towers.
Right. Very nice.
This was inside.
Oh, yeah. Playtime gnomes. Are you sure your mother bought you this?
Yeah.
You haven't having a laugh?
No.
That's quite embarrassing.
Garden centre yesterday.
That is quite embarrassing.
I haven't even looked at it
Is
yet.
it heavy? Does it feel heavy? No. Is it like made of like china or something? Or is it...
No.
Is it ceramic?
No. It's made
like
of...
a penguin.
It's made of waterproof stuff. Look at this. Oh, this is fantastic. Look. There you go.
That's ridiculous.
There's my gnome.
Skipping gnome.
Hey?
It's a gnome with a skip with a bit of rope between its two
I'm not
hands.
sure what that's about. Why is it a skipping gnome? Is that significant?
Does it have a name, this gnome?
It says playtime gnomes are cheeky rascals that like to play games in the garden to cheer up any visitors that may be passing through.
Dear me.
Hand-painted ornaments to brighten up any garden, a fun alternative to the traditional garden gnome.
That's the kind of thing you buy for
this
somebody...
This is a new gnome.
That's the kind of thing that you buy somebody who's lost control of their faculties, isn't it?
I don't think so. I mean, there you go.
Yeah.
Couldn't be better, could it?
Yeah, so is that like a gnome that you're going to put... Have you got any other gnomes in the roof garden?
Yeah, this is... in future, when people come to my garden, they... Hello, I'm the skipping gnome.
I think poor old Porky's got some kind of altitude sickness. For heaven's sake, let's have a look at it. Give it to me. It's horrendous looking, isn't it? Is it made of rubber or something?
No, it's made of like a composite. Don't smash it, you fool.
It doesn't smash.
What are you doing? Well, it will if you keep doing that.
That's horrible.
My mother bought me that.
That is absolutely horrible.
Back here.
She's got worse taste than you.
God. How dare you.
It looks quite like you, actually, I have to say. Or maybe I'll send a picture out of it later on.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Anyway,
right.
listen, I want to tell you about something that you've been banging on about for a long time.
Oh, yes.
And that is your great admiration for the man known as Vladimir Putin.
Yes.
Who is still, I believe, the president of Russia, is he not?
Well, I don't have great admiration for Mr. Putin. I just think that, he's...
What are you doing now? Are you going to sit down, by the way? This is radio we're on,
I'm sitting down.
We can't hear you. You've got to
I
sit
know,
by the microphone.
Yeah, look, I'll just put my gnome away.
Putting your gnome away.
Yes.
Sounds like a euphemism.
That's right, yeah.
Put that gnome away.
Put the gnome away. I think Mr. Putin is misunderstood by most of the world.
All right, well, have a listen to this. A Russian state television reporter has broken ranks and apologised for taking part in propaganda madness after being sacked for criticising Vladimir Putin, right?
Yeah.
Konstantin Goldensveig, former Berlin correspondent of the NTV channel, lost his job after giving an interview to a German TV station in which he referred to the Russian president's well-known cynicism and suggested it was advantageous to the Kremlin that the war in eastern Ukraine was prolonged. So basically, because he spoke out against his own president, he's now lost his job.
Okay.
He's been fired.
What, and you think that's unusual?
Well, I don't think it's unusual, but I don't think it's something that you should be praising. I don't think it's something that would happen in this country. Just,
really?
If you go on television in this country as a journalist and criticise the Prime Minister, you don't get fired.
Hang on. Never mind journalists. This guy was a member of Putin's think tank, right?
No, he was a journalist, a TV journalist.
Yeah. And you're telling me that it doesn't happen in this country?
No, of course not.
Of course it does.
Well, you tell me somebody who was fired for expressing a view about the Prime Minister.
I'm telling you, in the Western world...
Tell me.
I'm telling you that the establishment gangs up against those who criticise those in power.
So tell me the last person...
I am not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that.
You don't have any evidence.
I'm not.
Tell me, journalistically, who has been fired by any organisation in this country because they criticised the Prime Minister?
I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that.
Well, here's a second story, right?
Yes.
In Russia, they have just announced that basically Putin is going to build more nuclear missiles, and he's going to be parking them just 30 miles outside of Moscow, right? He's going to add 40 new intercontinental ballistic missiles to the nuclear stockpile this year alone.
Well, do you blame him? When the West are courting...
So now you're going to defend him for that as well?
When the West are courting Turkey, which is right on his border, and want to place missiles there and air bases and all that kind of stuff... When the Western world is trying to nick a bit of what used to be the Soviet Union, that's part of the Ukraine, the Crimea, is it any wonder that Mr. Putin is thinking, hang on, the world is closing in on us. I've got to do something to defend the might of Mother Russia. I don't blame him.
So you're backing Putin on sacking a journalist who criticised him and on building more nuclear missiles?
No, I'm not.
Fantastic.
No, I'm not at all. What I'm saying is we don't know the full story about the journalist, and I don't know what pressure was brought to bear on his employers. Could have been state intervention. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe he's not a very good journalist. Who knows? But on the nuclear missiles front... Well, the arms race is going on. It still goes on. If we'd have if we'd have played it right after the Berlin Wall went down, we'd have got rid of all nuclear missiles throughout the world. Give peace a chance. That would have been the motto and the mantra in those days. But we didn't get the chance. We decided then, I tell you what, we'll hang on to our nuclear missiles because Russia's have all rusted away in rust bucket silos, and now they defence us. We'll make sure we've got them. But we didn't.
I don't think you got a leg to stand on.
We hung on to them. I've got plenty of legs to stand on, mate. At least two.
Somebody actually said after I posted that image of you earlier on with your legs sticking out your shorts. So it seems better legs on an oil rig.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I won't react to sort of insults like that because I'm not petty-minded enough to go around, pointing out that people's personal foibles are something that should be held up to ridicule. held up to ridicule.
Something,
Something.
surely. Now, let's go back to Tiger Woods for a moment, because we didn't finish that conversation.
Absolutely.
Because the US Open gets underway tomorrow. We're bringing you all sorts of updates all the way through the day here at TalkSport. Rory McIlroy is hoping to win it. Tiger Woods says that he thinks he will win it. I was looking at some statistics, actually, yesterday morning while I was sitting in this very seat. Tiger Woods has shot the two worst rounds, I think, of his career in the last month or so.
Yes.
He's also dropped to 195th in the world.
That's amazing.
Who was he kidding?
Who? Tiger Woods?
Yes.
Tiger Woods hasn't got a hope in hell of winning it.
No,
in fact, Tiger Woods will never win another tournament again. You're absolutely right.
Well, he might win another tournament, but I don't think he'll win another major.
No, I don't think he'll win another tournament, to be honest. I don't think he can get round 18 holes now. How can you go from the debacle of a round of 85, to winning? It can't be done. It can't be done.
No, I don't think so.
I'm telling you. By the way, we talked about Royal Ascot yesterday.
Yeah,
okay?
we did, yeah.
Now,
did you make any money yesterday? Did you put any bets on?
No, I didn't, no.
No, I didn't either.
I don't put any bets on unless I actually go there and I can see the...
Well, you put bets on the Derby. You weren't there.
Yes, I know that. Yes, but I mean...
So that's not true, then?
Well, it's true in certain circumstances. I think there's a special atmosphere at Ascot, and you've got to be there to look at the bloodstock in its full
Is that right?
regalia and splendour.
Has
Yes.
your good friend Mr. Brazil not invited you down to do the paper review tomorrow?
Well, I could have gone, but I mean, to be honest, it's an awful long way to go just look at a few papers. I'm better off doing it here.
I think it'd be quite fun to be
after
out
we
there, wouldn't
finish. Well, not really, because then you've got to get back and all that kind of stuff. And busy day tomorrow, things to do. Now then, as much as Tiger Woods says, yes, I can win it, so does Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
I'm the best in the world and I'll prove it, he says, ahead of the tournament this week. Will he? Will he prove it?
Well, I'm not sure, actually. I mean, Rory McIlroy is a very kind of... I don't know, a mysterious golfer, I'd say.
Yes.
I mean, if he's on his game, of course he could win it. But I mean, he hasn't really been brilliant at anything this year so far, and so I'm not sure he's quite ready. I don't think he's the man to win it. I'm not sure who's going to win it because it's a very, very.
Could he make the breakthrough?
Spieth could do it. I mean, it's a very, very new course, so none of the players really know the course particularly well. It could be very, very much sort of affected by the weather.
I saw Ian Poulter talking about it this morning extensively, and he made the point that actually this is going to be a bit of a mystery to everybody.
Yes,
this is the first time this course has ever been used as for a championship, isn't it? And therefore it is unknown territory, uncharted territory for most of the golfers. Yeah. Particularly, he says, because of the way you've got to read how the ball runs on greens. You know, the undulation of the greens and all that kind of stuff.
And also, like I say, again, the weather and you know, the moisture in the air and all of that will affect the greens. And because they're very new greens, it's a new golf course, they won't have all that kind of historical studying that they can do.
Exactly.
Like they all know the Masters terribly well.
Exactly.
They all know Wingfoot very well.
Yeah.
They all know...
Wingfoot, what a great name.
Wingfoot, yeah.
That'd be a Native American name, wouldn't it?
Wingfoot, yeah, probably was, yeah. It was up in Mamaroneck.
Feet of wings,
Feet of wings.
Sorry, wings on my feet and that sort of stuff, Now, so the next question is, so what becomes of Tiger Woods now? When should he pack up playing golf?
Well, I think he would probably not be somebody that could see himself playing on the senior tour, which is quite a good tour to play on in terms of money in America, but doesn't get particularly...
There's some talk that old, what's his name, Mrs. Doubtfire, is playing so well on the seniors tour.
Colin Montgomery,
that's right.
He doesn't like being called that.
No, I know, I forgot his name for a minute there. I've had dinner with him, actually. In fact, he gave me a signed copy of his book over dinner.
Did you give him a signed copy of yours?
If he'd have asked, I would have done. Why do you think that's funny?
Because it just seems the sort of thing that authors would do.
It was a best-selling book.
Why don't you have a copy of mine, Mr. Doubtfire?
Yeah, it was a best-selling book. Yeah, mine sold a lot more copies than his did.
Did it?
I'll just let you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll have a look and see if you can bet one of his books for a penny on Amazon as well.
And he's playing so well that some experts are saying, gosh, could Monty actually now do it in his dotage? And because I mean,
come back and win a proper major.
Yeah, Darren Clark did, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, but he hadn't retired to the seniors tour yet.
And he was only 45. Monty's over 50.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Yeah. And he could never
probably won't be able to do it. But I don't know what will become. I don't know what will become of Tiger now. If I was Tiger, I think I'd just pack up now and say, you know, thanks for the memories and go off and do something else.
Just go off and design golf courses and have a great life, flying around a private jet, visit as many strip clubs as you like. This is Talk Sport.
What?
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. Yep. We are the two mics. It's almost time for Ask Porky. A couple of bars there of Working Class Hero by the man who must not be named.
And the reason why we didn't go any further is there is a naughty word that
there is a bad
early
word
on in that song,
which we're prohibited from broadcasting at this time.
Do you know what? I've been thinking more and more about it. You know, the Working Class Hero and all that. Now, I had the advantage of going to a direct grammar school. You know, my parents could not have afforded to have sent me to a public school. Right. What advantage that was. And do you know what I'm thinking?
What a man they made of you.
Yeah, did make a man of it. And do you know what I'm thinking?
Cheating, lying, stealing, betraying. portraying...
No. Don't mislead the audience.
That's true.
Now, do you know what I'm thinking now?
What are you thinking now?
I'm thinking the Prime Minister and several senior politicians in this country from both sides of the House of Commons were educated at Eton.
Uh-huh.
Two of our leading actors, Eddie Redmayne, is it? Eddie? Yeah. And the other guy...
Damien Lewis,
is it him? Went to Eton.
Yeah.
And one of them's an Oscar winner, and the other one's done really well.
Yeah. As opposed to the one who won the Oscar.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Hugh Laurie, highest paid actor in the world in House, went to Eton.
Right.
Loads of people who've done well in life in the city.
Do they send their children to Eton, I wonder?
Well, I don't know. But loads of people
who've
done well in life in the city of London went to Eton, right? Now, I think we should all aspire to go to Eton.
Why?
Because I think it's great. Because I think it's magnificent. I think, it
Have
gives
you ever been
such
to
a grounding in life. I've played against Eton in football.
Have you?
Yeah.
How'd you get on?
We beat them about 4-0.
Did you? So they're not very good at football then?
Well, I don't know. Perhaps on the day, we were just better on the day or something like that. But what I'm saying is, we should have more...
When did you play against Eton?
Sorry?
When did you play against Eton?
What happened was, it was a 7-a-side tournament in London, and selected public schools were invited to come down. We played at the National Westminster Bank sports ground in
Roehampton?
Roehampton, thank you. That's exactly where it was, yeah. And
it's kind of on the outskirts.
And we
of
played
London,
against them. Shrewsbury were there, Repton.
Who?
Eton, Repton.
Shrewsbury
School is a magnificent school. Repton School
Repton,
in Derbyshire.
Is it? All right.
Derbyshire, you idiot.
Well, I don't know. I'm not a public.
Eton,
I'm not a public
Harrow,
school kind of hanger-on. I couldn't care less
Rugby,
about public
Marlborough,
schools. If it's down to me, I would actually abolish all public schools.
Well, I wouldn't because
the whole point of public schools is they promote elitism.
No, they
which
don't.
is the single biggest reason why there isn't very much social mobility in this country.
If we gave
and there should be more of it.
25% of the places at Eton to boys or girls.
The problem with Eton is it's full of kids from abroad.
From working class backgrounds, then this country would be a much better place. That's what I'm saying.
Well, listen to my argument. This country would be a much better place if you did away with all public schools and every child that went to Eton instead had to go and mix with everybody else in an ordinary state school. And that way the state schools might be better and actually everybody would be better off. Instead of just making a few people better off, you can make everybody better off. And that's a much better system as far as I'm concerned.
It sounds to me like you're an old-fashioned sort of, tax and spend socialist.
No, I'm a very, very far from being a tax and spend socialist.
Which would ruin this country.
No, I'm very far from... Excuse me, I'm very far from being a tax and spend socialist. And in fact, if you listen to what I was saying, you would understand that it would make an awful lot more sense. I don't believe that public schools have the right to be charitable institutions, for example, that don't pay any tax. I don't believe that they should be able to operate at the expense of the taxpayer, bringing in income from overseas where they educate a large portion of people in places like Eton and Harrow from overseas.
But if they give a number of their places over to children who couldn't possibly afford to be there because their father's a bus driver or a bin man or something.
Not good enough.
Of course it's good enough.
No.
But in that way you...
No, just do away with all of them.
We become...
Burn them to the ground. That's what I say.
That's typically you. That's a typical English attitude. I can't have it, so you can't have it. Get rid of it.
No, I don't want it.
That's a disgusting attitude.
I don't want to have to subsidise it. That's my point.
Unless you have aspiration, unless you have...
Why should Eton be tax-free? Why should Eton not pay taxes?
Because it's a magnificent institution.
No, because
it's the
you're
best
a
school
snob.
in the world.
No, it isn't the best school in the world. Rubbish.
And, I mean, in France, they have the Sorbonne in Paris.
That's right.
Everybody says, one of the world's great academic institutions.
People speak very highly of it. I wouldn't know. I haven't been there.
Well, also, it never produces any great students, and it never gets any great results. It's full of thickheads. And I know that
I'm
because
have to check that now.
I know that because it's never ever appeared in the list of the world's top 10 universities. Oxford and Cambridge always do. Durham sometimes does. Yale and Harvard obviously do. UCLA does, but you never the Sorbonne. Yeah.
You mean UCLA?
Yeah, that's right. Well, that spells UCLA, doesn't it? You
don't
idiot.
pronounce it UCLA.
Yeah, well, I do. University of California, isn't it?
University of California, Los Angeles.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
Now then, are you suffering
Here's
from...
some people who are from the Sorbonne, right?
What?
Sam Waterston, actor.
Who's he?
Elie Wiesel, Nazi hunter. Pierre Curie,
I've
chemist, scientist.
I've never heard of these people.
Princess Caroline of Monaco.
Yeah, okay.
Marie Curie.
Yes.
Who discovered penicillin.
Yes.
Dr. Ruth Westheimer. Jean Piaget.
No, I don't think that's a very impressive list.
Lawrence Fernan Getty. You know, I mean, the list goes on. Simone de Beauvoir,
I'm not sure it does.
academic philosopher, right?
Yeah, but academic philosophers don't contribute anything to life.
Really?
People who contribute things to life are the list I've just given you. You know, people like the Prime Minister of this country, Damien Lewis, Hugh Laurie, Eddie Redmayne.
So you think Damien Lewis and Hugh Laurie are more important than Marie Curie? Is that what you're telling me?
I think that in terms of their contribution...
He played a doctor on TV. She actually was one. How about that?
Marie Curie?
Marie Curie?
Marie Curie?
Yeah.
She didn't invent anything.
She didn't invent anything. No, she discovered a few things, though.
I don't think she did. I think she just started a charity.
You think Marie Curie started a charity?
Marie Curie is like, isn't that a byword for nurses who help people who've got terminal illnesses? And that's a very, very worthy cause, and I admire the woman for doing it. But she didn't exactly invent the wheel.
Well, Marie Curie is a charitable organisation now.
Yes.
But it's named after Marie Curie because of what she did, right? She conducted pioneering research on radioactivity, which is the first woman to win a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, that's very good.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Excellent.
I think you'll find that she created and
gave
gave quite
good,
a lot to society.
Good.
So once again, your
I'm pleased
argument
with
is
that.
shot down in flames. Anyway, never mind all that, because we've got some important things to talk about with
Right.
Mr. Russell Hargreaves, who's from
indeed.
Walsall, baseball fan.
Indeed.
We're not going to talk about baseball or Walsall.
That's
However,
probably wise, because according
probably.
to Mr. Parry, that therefore renders me clueless on most other things.
Yes, exactly right.
Oh, I don't think I said
You
that.
through to my news at 2 a.m. You said pretty much exactly that, word for word.
Well, I'm sorry
I don't
if
think
you
you meant
read
it
it that
personally,
way.
though.
I didn't mean it personally
No.
at all. I have huge respect for your deep and expansive knowledge on all things sporting and otherwise.
Right. And luckily, he's here to talk about the rumours in the transfer market, so do tell what's
Well,
going
I've done,
on.
first of all, is I've picked out an Everton one, just
Oh,
for
good.
Porky, first of all, which is, Porky,
Hey,
according
big
to
spender.
the Times this morning,
Yes.
a real increase in kind of the creativity of your midfield and a bit of pace in the team. No major surprise, a bid to sign Spurs' Aaron Lennon permanently.
Yeah.
And also, do you remember Gerard Deulofeu, the young
Yeah, of
Spanish
course,
player
yeah.
who was on loan the year before, then
Yeah.
went back, hasn't really made it at Barcelona. A deal in offing to try and buy him permanently as well. So
But I think
Deulofeu and Lennon.
That deal includes a buyback clause for Deulofeu because they think he will get good eventually and they want him back at the same price.
Okay.
Well said, you actually got his name right there.
Yes, of course I did.
Deulofeu.
Yes.
So at least Martinez is looking at trying to add a little bit of oomph to that Everton midfield.
Yeah.
One big one, guys, that really is dominating a lot of the papers is what's going to happen not just with Peter Cech, will he go from Chelsea to Arsenal, but also will there be a move the other way for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain? And our big friend John Cross, of course, from the Mirror's got this as his lead. It's in loads of other papers as well. Some are saying this could happen. Others are saying the Gunners don't want to let the Ox go and they will only buy Cech if it's a one-off £10 million individual deal. So that's a very interesting one.
I was interested as well in some
interesting.
Arsenal fans who were ringing up saying they'd rather see Theo Walcott going than Oxlade-Chamberlain because they feel that Oxlade-Chamberlain's got more kind of longevity in his career.
Rubbish. Theo Walcott is so undervalued both at Arsenal and within the England ranks. I just can't believe it.
But both of them can't seem to get into the first team.
No,
Well,
but
both of them keep getting injured. That's the other frustrating thing, isn't it?
Right back to full fitness now, and I'm telling you, he's going to explode in a fashion that's going to shock everybody soon. Everybody's going to turn around and say, why aren't we playing Theo Walcott up front, as first choice every week?
I actually agree with Parry on that one, I have to say. So we shall see what happens there. And just one quick subplot to that.
Yeah.
If Cech does go, obviously Chelsea would need another keeper to be at least a very solid number two. So they're looking at Asmir Begovic, of course, from Stoke.
Right.
Because Stoke have got Jack Butland, who was excellent toward the end of the season. I'll just rattle through a few other quick ones for you of note. Liverpool have bid £12 million for Southampton and England fullback Nathaniel Klein, but Saints want a minimum of 15. Aston Villa are looking at Tom Huddleston and Robbie Brady, who I really rate from relegated Hull City. And last one, Liverpool's Ryan Babel, the Dutchman, do you remember him a few years ago? Could be coming back to the Barclays Premier League with Swansea.
How bizarre. Well, thank you very much indeed. Russell Hargreaves there, proving he does know an awful lot about what's going on in the transfer market.
Indeed.
We'll keep you updated, of course, throughout the period of the transfer window being open, which opens very, very shortly. And there'll be lots more stories throughout the course of this show as well. Coming up next, though, it's time for Ask Porky. And if you really want to get one of your last-minute problems solved, this is the place to do it. Just tweet us at the two mics, and if it's particularly good, we'll squeeze it in under the wire. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two mics, and it is that time of the week when it's Ask Porky, of course, and this is when Mr. Parry gets to be his real self, and he gets to help many people.
Indeed.
Some of whom have got problems medically, some of whom have got problems romantically, some of whom are
I see it
asking
as
for
my
career
mission in
advice.
life.
And I know you've said it many times that you're
mission.
here to help. So
I am.
we've got, as usual, a whole host of questions that people have sent in by Twitter, mostly at the two mics. And so I'm going to start off because we've always got quite a few to get through. And apologies if we don't get through all of them. But starting off, funnily enough, with a golf-related one from Frazzle, who says, Mike, the US Open golf starts tomorrow. Got any no-hopers in mind that I can stick a bet on?
I don't go for no-hopers, to be honest, because no-hopers don't inspire the people of the world who are the mainstay of the world. Those are the winners. Those are the shakers and movers, the goers, the people who don't just stand around thinking, they actually do things. So no-hopers and I don't get on together.
But long odds sometimes is the best way to bet on
I don't know any no-hopers. I don't want to know anything about no-hopers. And if a no-hoper gets lucky, then the no-hoper becomes a winner, in which case they're admitted to the Porky fan club, but not until then.
Now, I've had a quick look at some of the odds for this, and I don't want to elongate it too long, but I found somebody that you might like to put a bet on.
Okay.
And he's certainly not a no-hoper, I wouldn't say that, but his odds are very good. Some bookies have got him at 750 to 1, others have got him at 1,000 to 1. Do you know what his name is?
No.
John Parry.
John Parry.
John Parry. He's from Harrogate.
Yeah.
He's an English golfer. He plays on the European Tour.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not suggesting he's going to win the US Open, but if you were into spread betting or anything like that, 1,000 to 1. Pretty good odds.
Well, good luck to John Parry.
Worth a go, eh?
Next question, please.
Now, here's one from Becky in New Zealand. Mike, the men I date are intimidated by my better job and car.
Right.
Should I give up medicine and become a secretary instead? #full sex.
No, not at all. You should continue with the pursuit of your career. You're clearly very successful. That's a great thing. We like successful people in life. We like successful people because successful people are leaders. We need leaders of men and women in this world to show us how to do it. You keep doing it. And if you come across a man who is so thick-headed and so macho that he is intimidated by your success, then he's not the man for you. You wait until you find a man who can match your aspirations, your desires and your ambitions and your success.
Now, let's try one on the financial front. Right. This is from Dorian.
Okay.
Could Porky please expertly explain why the Zimbabwe dollar has collapsed and why they have billion-dollar notes?
Yeah, the Zimbabwe dollars collapsed because Rhodesia, as it was, which was renamed Zimbabwe, obviously, Rhodesia named because of Cecil Rhodes, who was the pioneer from Great Britain who went out there and turned it into a proper country and built big buildings in the capital, which was called Rhodes. No, it wasn't. That was Rhodes is a Greek
Rhodes
guy.
is a Greek island.
Yeah, that's right. It's a Greek island. Yeah, it was called Salisbury, I think.
Salisbury, wasn't it?
The capital of Rhodesia.
Capital of Rhodesia.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and
Zimbabwe now is called, the capital's now called Harare.
Harare, it's now called Harare, yeah. Do you mind? I'm answering this question, not you.
Well, I don't want to
It's
point
called
out
Harare.
anything you're getting
Anyway,
wrong.
it used to be known as the breadbasket of Africa because the plains of Rhodesia were so lush. The farming was so efficient that it could literally distribute food all around the massive continent of Africa. But the problem was, when Mr. Mugabe took over, he decided to take all the farms off mostly white farmers and give them to people he called the veterans. And these guys were allegedly people who had been involved in the war against oppression. Not sure where the oppression came from, neither does anybody else, but the farms were given to people who weren't farmers. The economy utterly collapsed. There is starvation in Rhodesia. There is mass poverty on a scale never before seen in any African country that used to be so wealthy, and that is why inflation, which sometimes increases by 30,000 points a day, is now so enormous that the value of anything in Rhodesia has completely... Zimbabwe these days has now completely collapsed.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm not sure anyone understood that one.
Of course he did.
Here's one from Adge.
Yeah.
Can Porky get a campaign going and win to get a blue tick on his Twitter account?
Well, it's underway, and we have experts inside the TalkSport Towers building here who are working on this day and night to get it sorted. It will be sorted, believe me. We don't believe in losing here at TalkSport. We are winners, and we will win this one.
How soon do you expect it to happen?
I expect it to happen before the end of this week.
Before the end of this week?
Yes.
Excellent. All right,
Yes.
we'll look forward to that. Here's one from Craig. I've been challenged to eat a tablespoon of cinnamon, which is very easy. Does Porky have any tips?
The only tips I would say is don't do it. I'm surprised that I'm still alive because the shock of indulging in that particular exercise was, in fact, a mighty one. And I've been advised I must never do it again. However, it did provide a lot of people with a lot of laughs, and that's what I'm here for in this world, to entertain.
Now, this is one from somebody who calls himself Mike Parry Quotes. He
Right.
says, I'm on a stag do in Amsterdam next weekend.
Yep.
How do I use rat-like culling to avoid bladderation and excesses?
Well, you can't on these sort of things because all your mates will want to big themselves up as the best drinker of the lot. That's why I've never been on a stag night. That's why I will never go on a stag night. I do not think you've got to be in a situation where you've got to prove how much you are by how drunk you can get and how disgusting your behaviour can become.
You don't want to do a Jack Grealish, do you?
You certainly don't want to do a Jack Grealish. My advice to you would be to be a man and pull out of the stag night. Don't go. You don't need to go. What are you proving? You're proving that you can get drunk with your mates, and your mate is proving that he's so terrified of getting married, he needs one great big bender to be able to walk up the aisle and face the one he's got to spend the rest of his life with.
Oh, calm down. All right, here's one from Phil, who says, your previous advice on how to get out of having a vasectomy didn't work. I had it done last Thursday. Any advice for my aching body?
Well, I'm not sure what you're talking about there. If it didn't work, you couldn't have had it done, or if you had it done, it failed. If I were you...
No, you told him how to avoid getting it done, but that didn't work, so he's now had it done.
OK, if you've had it done, be very, very careful when you next get out of bed. A friend of mine, when I worked on the Chester Chronicle, a photographer, he had exactly the same thing. He didn't realise when he woke up from, the anaesthetic and all that they'd actually sewed his testicle bag to the tops of his legs. And when he needed to go to the loo, he threw the sheets back, leapt out of bed, and ripped the stitching between his scrotum and the top of his leg. It was very painful.
I bet it was.
So be careful.
Yeah, well, I think leaping out of bed would be generally the advice after having had major surgery. But now, for the first time, we don't normally do this. We've got a caller who's got a relationship problem, and he wants to ask Porky live. It's Paul, as a Newcastle fan from Tunbridge. Paul, what's your problem, please?
Hello, Mike. How you doing?
Yeah, all right. What's your problem for Porky?
I was with this girl for about 6 years.
Yes.
And I had a bit of a drink problem.
Right.
Really loved the girl and everything.
Yeah.
And she had a couple of kids and everything. When I met her, like, the kids were 8 and 10.
Right.
They've grown up now. They've gone off to university.
Yeah.
And she wants to meet back up with me again.
Yes.
And I told her I was off the drink and everything.
Yeah, and is that true? Is that true, Paul? Are you off the drink?
Nope.
You're not off the drink?
No, I had a drink last night.
So you're
I had a drink.
Yeah.
I had a drink last night because I was a bit nervous about meeting her.
OK, so far we've established you're a drunken liar. Now, what other sort of qualities do you want to impress upon this woman?
No, but
it's a bit hard.
The thing is, I want to meet up with her tomorrow.
Yeah.
And give her the God's honest truth because I love the girl.
Do you want to give her name out, Paul?
Lisa.
No, don't.
No, she did give a name. Lisa.
Don't say her
Lisa.
name.
Yeah. But, Paul, you don't sound to me like you're up to it, mate. I think it's going to be a pointless exercise. You sound a bit sort of downbeat. You sound tired. You sound to me like the years of abuse in drink might have got to you. Your brain might be a bit rattled, or you might just be worn out. But if I were you, I'd give it up. It can be only misery in the future. Forget it.
Paul, I'm sorry that we didn't seem to be able to help you out from Porky's point of view there, but it sounds like he's not thinking this is a good idea. But if I were you,
not a good idea.
I would seek a second opinion just in case.
I wouldn't.
It might well be that somebody else has got a better idea.
No, some do-gooder will give you the wrong advice, Paul. Stick with me.
Now, here's one from Tony, who says, I'm colourblind and desperate to use Porky's shopping system. Can he help me out?
Yes, it's quite easy. All you've got to do is walk them down the aisles. And remember, if that day it's a red day, you buy your tomato ketchup, you buy your tomatoes, you buy your Persil, because that comes in a red box.
So it doesn't matter if you can't see that things are red, in other words.
What do you mean?
Well, he's colourblind.
No, he's not colourblind.
He just said he was colourblind.
What did he say? He's colourblind?
He said he was colourblind.
Ah, well, that's a different...
No,
that's a different...
But he can see tomatoes.
Yeah, yes, of course
he doesn't know they're red.
Look, you can see tomatoes, you can read the word Persil, you know what a bottle of tomato sauce looks like, because it's plastic and you squeeze it and stuff shoots out, and you won't have a problem. You won't have a problem at all.
All right. I'm not sure if that one goes. The Girl Wonder has sent this one in, and I suspect, even though she told me earlier it was for somebody else, I think she's asking for herself. What would it take to become the elusive first Mrs. Parry?
Well, I'm afraid that I reckon the day of the first Mrs. Parry may have come and gone.
Really?
Because I think life has now moved into a new dimension. There are other things to do. I think maybe you'll find that, time has moved on a little bit. When I last saw a lady who was right at the top of the FMP list, used to be Liz McDonald, barmaid and owner of the...
Fictitious character in Coronation Street,
owner of the Rovers Return. And I was looking at Liz only recently and thinking, maybe the opportunity has come and gone. I'm afraid that's all I can say about that.
Right, so you're not in the market anymore, is it?
Well, I'm not saying I'm in the market. You could be tempted in exceptional circumstances, but it would have to be exceptional. I did see a woman in the last month, 6 weeks or so, who fitted the bill quite nicely.
Was somebody just at random or somebody you met?
Somebody that came to one of our shows, actually.
Oh, really?
And, I just thought about it. But, I think the day's probably come and gone.
OK. Here's one from Damien. Slightly philosophical question for you. This one might fox you, I think.
Yeah.
If I took a photo of my shadow, would it still be considered a selfie?
No, that would not be considered a selfie because it does not have any defining image. It isn't just... In fact, what a shadow is shadow is absence of light. And where there is no light cast upon the world, there is only gloom and despair and no knowingness. So don't be fooled by shadow.
That's bad news then, isn't it, for people with shadows?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
I'm thinking of becoming a TV columnist, says Simon.
Right.
As an expert at this, can you give me any advice on how to do it?
Yes. My advice on being a TV columnist is to look at the television without the sound. And if you look at it without the sound, you can interpret the body language of the people in the drama that you're watching, or the documentary that you're watching, or the programme you're watching, with greater ease than if they're speaking. And by the way, what you probably don't know is that televisions are so big these days, the speakers which emit the sound have not grown in proportional size, and that's why there are so many complaints about actors mumbling these days. You need a proper sound system to hear it properly, so you don't need the sound at all.
So just switch it off.
Yes.
Excellent advice. And finally, this one from Trizzy. If there's a girl out there for me that I really want, should I pursue her and should I do all I can to get her?
Well, that depends on what your motive is for it. If your motive for it is pure love, then I would say that's a false emotion, because you can't live on love alone. However, if you feel you have a plan which will result in you pursuing a good and fruitful life, which may bear children and may lead you to become a family man and therefore a very useful and productive member of society, then you should. But for pure, just blind love, no.
OK, well, that's Ask Porky for this week. There'll be many, many more opportunities to send in more questions at the two mics and even call in, like our good friend there, the Newcastle fan did. I'm not sure he was particularly happy with the advice he got.
Oh, I think he was.
But never mind. I mean, you gave it to him straight. I have to say, I can't fault you on that. Loads more to come, though. Don't forget, tomorrow night, of course, it's Porky Vision, where you get the benefit of Mr. Parry's TV review.
That's right.
And then this week's quiz on Thursday night will be about the Sweeney.
That's it.
Despite the fact there's a 200th anniversary of the Battle of Waterloo.
Well, we can do the Battle of Waterloo if you want.
No, we're doing the Sweeney now. No, the wheels have been set in motion. The independent quizmasters are working hard on it.
Good.
This is Talk Sport. The two mics we have actually just released, and we will be releasing on the two mics account, on the Mike Graham account and the Mike Parry account, the video of Mr. Parry opening his beloved dwarf, or rather gnome, I should call it, shouldn't I?
Yes.
Gnome with a skipping rope. So go to the two mics.co, at the two mics, and you'll find it there. It's also going to be on two mics TV, but we will send that out in due course.
Right.
Now, we haven't got an awful lot of time.
No, I want to talk to you about this condition which you're suffering from.
What condition am I suffering from?
In my view...
I'm not suffering from any condition.
No, in my view, from my research, you're suffering from sporadic neuropathic disorder.
What does that mean?
And I've noticed this when we do our live shows.
What does it mean?
You get stage fright very, very quickly.
You think?
You're reluctant to come on the stage. That's obvious from the way you saunter on the stage.
Yeah.
It's like somebody's pushing you from behind the scenes, behind the curtains to get you on the stage.
Well, I must admit, I don't go out sort of, waving and shouting like some kind of man who's deranged because he's so happy that he thinks everybody's come there to see him.
Well, I don't think that, but I think if an audience come and they want to sit down in the stage and they're in the theatre and they've come to see you, I think you should give them a proper greeting.
Yeah.
Not your...
Well, actually, you don't see the greeting. No, hang on.
Back,
no, you don't see
sort
the...
of,
No,
kids,
you don't
me.
see... No, hang on. You don't see the greeting that I give them, first of all, because you linger behind the curtain because you don't like to come out at the same time as me because you don't want to share the limelight. You think you can come out on your own and then you can get your own cheer. That's the way it works for you.
I think in addition to suffering from sporadic neuropathic disorder, I think you're also suffering from trigeminal neuralgia.
Huh?
Trigeminal neuralgia.
Well, are you going to describe what either of these things is?
Well, I can tell you how it's best described.
Yeah, go on.
You know the famous painting, The Scream?
Yes.
Oh!
Do you know who painted that?
Munchausen.
Munchausen.
Wasn't it?
No.
Who was it?
Do you want to have another go?
Yeah, it was something like that, wasn't it?
Munchausen.
Yeah.
What, like Munchausen by proxy?
Well, whatever. Come on, who was it then?
It was Edvard Munch.
Yeah, well, that's what I said.
You said Munchausen.
Yeah, but you know what I meant. You gathered that I was on the right trail, on the right track, because I got half of it right.
Yes.
Now then, what I'm saying is, that scream, that wasn't just somebody who was in despair. That was somebody suffering from, probably, either sporadic or excruciating neuropathic disorder combined with trigeminal neuralgia.
Right.
And
you still haven't explained what that is.
Well, it's a very painful affliction.
Is it?
Yeah, it's often...
Well, I don't have a painful affliction.
Yeah, it's a painful affliction, and what it is, it affects the trigeminal nerve. Now, this carries a sensation from the face and can be triggered by actions like brushing your teeth or putting on makeup. In a woman's case, you know what I mean?
Right.
It can really get you.
I haven't put on makeup for a while.
But it can also be triggered by panic attack.
Right.
And I think this is what you get.
I don't have panic attacks.
I think you get panic attacks. I think when you walk on a stage, you realise, in my empty head, have I got enough to say to entertain this crowd tonight, or am I going to have to rely on Porky to carry it for me again? No. That's what I think.
So
you
is
think.
this your diagnosis is based purely on what you perceive to be my performance on stage? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So when I'm not on the stage, then I don't suffer from it.
Well, I think you suffer it sometimes when we're in a studio and you realise that I've set the agenda again.
Right,
See what I mean?
Right.
Now, the other thing
this is actually more a reflection of what you think is your supposed superiority to me.
No, not at all.
So once again, you're reflecting...
No.
What it is in fact, your inferiority complex, the chip on your shoulder, your jealousy of me, and your wish to be me.
No.
I think that's what we're talking about.
No. I've just been observing your bodily language and your style and all this kind of stuff. For instance, let me put this to you. I want you to be absolutely honest here.
I will be. Yeah, I'm always honest.
Right. The symptoms of sporadic neuropathic disorder combined with the trigeminal neuralgia is eardrum pain.
Yeah.
Feels like your eardrums are going to explode.
No, don't have any of that.
Sharp pain in the throat.
No.
Trembling in the vocal cords.
No.
And also a feeling that somebody's kind of slitting your throat. What are you laughing at?
I might slit your throat.
No.
I don't have any of those symptoms.
Right, and it's all as a result of panic. And
well, if I answer no to all of those questions, then surely,
I think you're hiding something.
Even a man of science like yourself,
I think you're hiding something.
Would have to say you're chasing up the wrong tree. Here,
I think you
or
are
even barking up the wrong tree.
I think you're hiding something. Honestly, I think you should be honest with yourself, because it's only by
I'm being very honest.
accepting your limitations in terms of how you perform in the public arena that we can get over the problem and put it right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate you taking such an interest in my disorders.
Yeah.
Sadly, I think you're more of a case for study, though.
I don't think
in this
so.
regard, because mentally speaking, you are practically a case for treatment, I would say. Because you suffer from all sorts of anxiety about all kinds of things.
I mean,
you were the one that said to me that you spent the afternoons before doing live shows watching Columbo because it helped you calm down.
Yeah.
Right?
What's wrong with that?
Well, because that means that you must be in a heightened state of anxiety in order to make yourself calm down.
Well, what do you do for a show? Go out on the lash?
No, I'm usually driving somewhere to get there.
Or
I'm usually,
I don't know about that.
Sleeping or something like that. I spend an awful lot of time sleeping.
Anyway, funny enough, we've gone through the whole show tonight and the show last night without reminding our wonderful band of millions of listeners that actually this is the penultimate week before we appear at the Lowry Theatre in Salford Quays.
Yes, that's right.
Which is a week on Saturday, folks. And tickets, we're not saying this just to flog a few more tickets. They are running out.
Yeah.
And we've been very lucky to have hit sort of full house status. But there are a few left.
Well, let's just direct people to the website, right,
yes.
which is the2mics.co.uk, where you can also find all sorts of other information about where we're going to be and when. Okay?
Yes, exactly.
Are you happy with that?
I'm very happy with that.
Here's one from Edward, who says,
Right.
A man that shall not be named said, all you need is love.
Yes.
I don't know what you mean
by
that.
Actually, who's the other most famous person for saying all you need is love?
What do you mean?
Well, somebody collared that in a film years later, and I kind of resented it, yeah.
Why?
It was Sean Penn.
Was it?
Yeah, don't remember. He played a guy who was autistic, an autistic father who was trying to not lose custody of his son.
No.
And he said to the judges all the time, but I love my boy. All you need is love. He's quoting John Lennon all the time, which I thought was
I don't remember the film. What was the film called?
Oh, I've no idea. I think he was nominated for an Oscar for it, though.
Was he?
Funny enough, yeah. I think he was, yeah.
Now, Chris says, quotes from Mr. Parry,
Yes.
So far we've established you're a lying drunk. Brilliant. Hashtag tough love.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid it is. That's what you have to tell these people. In fact, funny enough, I got one here from Dash.
Yeah.
He says, hi, lads, you have surpassed yourselves tonight. Mr. Parry is an agony aunt. You should be a regular feature. Well, I got news for you, Dash. It has been a regular feature for the last 2 months.
Yeah, well, indeed. I think what he means is actually taking calls from people as well,
I see.
which we'd be more than happy to do. Mohanty says, Zimbabwe has $1 million notes because of hyperinflation. Hashtag fact.
What's that, Mahanti?
His name is Mahanti.
Yeah, what's he say?
He says Zimbabwe has $1 million notes because of hyperinflation.
Well, I've told you that.
Yeah, but you didn't actually use that phrase. Probably because you didn't want people to be confused.
No. It's all.
You didn't actually say hyperinflation.
Because of the collapse of the economy.
Yeah.
Complete collapse.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Here's one from Becky, who says, great medical advice on vasectomies. I can imagine male listeners everywhere cringing. I nearly fell off my chair laughing.
Well, you shouldn't be laughing at the pain that some people go through in order to achieve, what is a life-changing situation for them in their family situation, in their family lives.
And here's one from James. Does Porky think the best way to impress a woman is to boast, tell lies, and take her for fish and chips at Wetherspoons?
No, I certainly do not. Well, I don't know why you would ask me that question. I think the best way to get on with a woman is to be as honest, as truthful as you can, and to impress her with flashing a bit of cash at a decent restaurant.
Now, this one may have to be carried over into the next show, right? Because it's quite a complicated question. I'm not sure what the answer to it is off the top of my head.
Right.
But it's from somebody called Lewis, who sent this in at the Two Mics. And it's a bit beyond the Ask Porky sort of watershed, shall we say. At a party, now listen carefully to this. I can tell you're not listening.
No,
you're not that far away looking your eye.
I am.
At a party, everyone shook hands with everybody else. There were 66 handshakes. How many people were at the party?
Say that again.
You see, I told you weren't listening.
I was listening, but I didn't realise I had to actually record the statistics of the numbers.
At a party,
right?
Everyone shook hands with everybody else.
Right.
There were 66 handshakes.
Yeah.
How many people were at the party?
Probably 22, but I mean, I'd have to spend a bit of time working that out.
How'd you work that out?
Well, because I've just worked it out in my head.
So if 22
roughly
people shook hands with each other, would that make 66?
No.
No. So you don't mean that?
No, yeah, I do. Because then you shake hands with the remaining 22, so it might be right.
Well, if 22 people are there, then they shook hands with 21
people. I mean, you're supposed to say...
they all shook hands with that. I think it's a much smaller number,
You're supposed to say 33, aren't you? Because that's half of 66, and that's one handshake each.
No, but they all shook hands with everybody else.
It's probably 6, wasn't it?
I don't know. I can't think of the answer off the top of my head.
6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3
I don't think it's a question about the 6 times table.
6 times 4 is 24. Probably 6. Probably 6.
And Lee in South Wales says, if I have one lottery ticket and 9 other people give me their tickets, how does that increase my odds of winning the jackpot? It doesn't, Porky.
Because the 6 tickets drawn out, 6 numbers drawn out, might be on any one of those other 9 tickets. So, of course, it increases your chances by 9-fold if you get 9 more tickets. I just don't understand why people can't see that. To me, it's the most obvious statistic and fact of the whole of the programme tonight, the whole of the show tonight. That is the one blinding thing which I have no doubt about. I'm absolutely right in saying if you buy 10 lottery tickets, you have 10 times the chance of winning the lottery. If the odds are 14 to 1, they are reduced in your favour to 140,000 to 1.
Okay.
It is basic common sense.
Yep. Okay, now, final question of the night on this show. Lots of papers on the back pages this morning leading with Falcao going to Chelsea. Now, if Falcao becomes a success at Chelsea, what will that do to your old friend Louis van Gaal, who you haven't mentioned for some time?
Louis van Gaal will not regret it because... as a lot of the shows have been talking about all day, the biggest error in letting a player go who could have been a star is, of course, old Podger.
Who?
Podger.
Podger.
Yeah. What's your problem?
It's Pogba.
I know Pogba. I know it's Pogba.
Pogba.
It's Pogba. And the point is, it's the unspoken transfer that went wrong, and nobody likes to talk about it anymore.
Well, everybody's talking about it at the moment.
Yeah, well, they are actually. Falcao can't play for United for one reason or another.
Right.
Maybe he's overawed by the situation. Maybe there's too many other big names at the club, and he likes to shine.
He's not going to like Chelsea, then, is he?
Shine in his own environment. Well, I don't know. Maybe at Chelsea, you're not allowed to. Your ego's not allowed to flourish. Whereas I get the feeling at Manchester United that there's, the manager Louis van Gaal does actually encourage the flourishing of egos because he thinks it's a good thing. That's the way the Dutch are.
Yeah.
But Jose's not like that. He's Portuguese.
So do you think it's going to be a success then? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know if it's going to be a success or not. But I mean, I would say that if you can't raise your game to play in the shirt of Manchester United, which is a tremendous honour for any professional footballer, I think you're going to have a problem playing anywhere myself.
Yeah, well, we shall see.
Yeah.
Now, anyway, it's time to look into...
They're male culottes.